Playing up. Oh man, now it's working. It's still working on telly. What's going on? Everything's conked it up. Oh man. I'm gonna have to reboot the TV. Sorry, Di, I'm gonna have to reboot the TV. Not the computer, just the TV. The remote's not working, so there is.
Possibility.
It's John Pounders, Di. Look how much weight he's lost.
Once again here, guys. So I hope you guys are in for an awesome show. Let me scoot back a little bit here. I look like half my head's missing in this picture here. So we're going to give it a second, let people in since we are live, let people kind of stroll in here. I would love to know how you guys are doing, where you're from, etc. You don't have to give me exact address or anything like that, but region. I'd love to see how many people we have out there all over the place, just kind of tuning in and if you're live, you're chatting with us. If you're not, you're in the comments or you're
Hi, Di. Hi, Shawnee. Good to see you.
Or any of those cool things. So also, I wanted to tell you before we get started tonight, let me share my screen here. I will be speaking at this called Faithfluence, and this is in a town really close to where I live, actually.
I watched a bit of this. He brings up Trump's creating a 10 ruler thing in Gaza Strip or something like that. And I suggested that I think Trump could be one of the 10 kings, because I know he's not the AC, but he could very well be one of the 10 kings. So this will be interesting.
So that's why I'm doing it. But they offered me the chance to speak at this event, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not familiar with many of the people in this picture. I know that the guy in the middle there, I think Marcus Rogers is one, maybe some of you guys will be familiar with. And the guy at the very front, I know he's popular, and I know I've seen him before, but I can't place his name right now, but he'll be there too. And so and a bunch of other people as well that are on this flyer. And so excited to get that opportunity. If you guys live close to Kentucky in Owensboro, it's actually Owensboro, Kentucky is where this is at. So if you're in southern Indiana, Kentucky, whatever, western Kentucky, this is probably going to be right up your alley. So it's really, really close. And so I'm excited to be a part of it. So go check that out. There's actually a link to the tickets in the description for the people who are putting it on. I'm not putting this one on, so I can't really answer too many questions about it other than I can tell you that I will be there speaking at this event. So I'm excited about it. And guys, look, this is one of the first videos that I
hate when the screen's crooked. It really annoys me.
On Saturdays on this channel since the Midnight Ride has gone into retirement. And so I've been brainstorming, like, what can I do that is even remotely close to the Midnight Ride, or even remotely as good as that. And I don't know that I'll ever be able to, for sure. And I know a lot of people have made sure to voice their opinion about that. But I do think that something.
I wonder why they stopped Now You See TV. It had 250,000 subs. That's a lot of YouTube money, so that's good to see they're not worried about the money. But I wonder why they stopped it.
As good can come of that in a different way. And so tonight, though, I need to talk about this thing. This doesn't fit my other channel, Pounders Quest. If you guys haven't subscribed to that yet, go do that over at Pounders Quest. I interview people and do different things over there. But this is more fitting to the Now You See TV family, the audience that I've been with since 2010. So some of you guys have been around since even that long. 2016, 6 years later is when we started the Midnight Ride. So some of you guys have even been around pre those days. So this is the Now You See TV audience family thing. And I think that you guys would be just really, this is a topic for you guys.
Yeah, Shawnee, they're starting to hammer at Candace, aren't they? They're giving her heaps.
And so we've been talking about these things for a while, and many of you guys remember.
I don't know what she says. I just know she outed Macron's wife for being a guy. That's what I know her from.
Talked about the 10 Kings prophecies. I think we probably talked about it over the last.
Why? What do you
name? I guess decade, probably. 3 or 4 times at least, and that's just being, that's possible, possibly more. So as I told you guys before, let's get started here. Now the End Begins is a channel. I don't know a whole lot about them. I saw that they were in the chat, but somebody had posted this on Facebook, and I looked at the article and I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. So I wanted to check it out. So, and I'll just be straight up with you guys. I didn't necessarily see anywhere written in stone to where this thing that he's doing has anything to do with 10 necessarily kingdoms or federations, but I know that there's been talk about this. There's been talk about this for a long time, and recently Donald Trump just came out with this national security strategy. And so we're going to read a little bit, or just check out it real quick. I got it pulled up here on the website. It's on the whitehouse.gov. You can pick it up and check it out if you want. But if you look at what they're basically doing, this is the fellow Americans. This is what they're trying to tell us that they're doing. I kind of give you guys a list of just the topics. I narrowed them down to about 10 really important topics in this thing. But there is a talk of regions in this that I want to read here in a second. So hold on. There we go. American sovereignty and security, building a dominant military and nuclear deterrent, strengthening economy and industrial preeminence, America First foreign policy principles, ending mass migration and securing borders, fair burden sharing with allies, Western Hemisphere Trump corollary. This is like the Monroe Doctrine, but the Trump corollary. Indo-Pacific economic and deterrence strategy, Europe's stability and self-confidence, Middle East peace and burden shift. So it actually, when you read what is being written in this,
I don't know who Andrew Tate is.
Here, and I'm going to pull it back up. If you read this, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it makes sense. 100% makes sense. And on top of that, it seems really, really good for our country if it's possible for these things to be enacted. But as we all know, the 10 Kings thing and the idea of the final world order, the new world order that is established after the world order we just had, which was America being at the top of that pyramid, we're getting ready to enter something that isn't necessarily known to everybody. There are people who are pretty adept in geopolitics that have been talking about this, and we're going to listen to a guy talk a little bit about what he sees in all of this. But I'm going to go ahead and show that to you, because this is Ray Dalio, and if you don't know, if you look up Ray Dalio, you can see his credentials: a financial man. I think he had a part in writing the book The Fourth Turning, but I think he was also on the board of BlackRock and stuff like that. I don't have his credentials in front of me, but somebody to be listened to. He called this turning And he called this because he has been looking at history and he noticed a pattern in the way that societies work over a certain year period. And so right now is the time for this new world order. So let's just watch a little bit of this and then we'll look at that national security strategy.
Let's talk about some of the key risks ahead as well. And going back to your five forces here, you have warned repeatedly, Ray, about the big cycle dynamics that we see between the US and China. Do you think we are closer to a breaking point today than ever before when it comes to this relationship?
I think that there's now a stepping back against. I'm not crossing the line. I'm not wanting to cross the line. I think that internationally, we're in a new world order. We're no longer in the multilateral world order where there's organizations like the United Nations and World Trade Organizations and all those world organizations and people who take votes and all of that. That world order, which was an American world order, began in 1945. That world order is over. It is now more the laws of the jungle, which means power matters, and the use of power in that way is as mattering.
So that kind of gives you a rundown of what they're talking about there and what he was talking about. So he's basically saying we are in that new world order. And based off of what I'm seeing and what happened this year, there is definitely a shift in how things work. We're seeing almost a control.
Diane, you got a lot of Somalis over there, have you? We got a lot of Sudanese and Nigerians.
Whole demolition in our monetary system and the way our governance works right now. We're seeing new superpowers rise out of Silicon Valley who have the technology and power to survey the entire world. This isn't just, when you look at like what we're seeing, this isn't just another day at the office. We're looking at technology increasing to the point to where it is actually technically possible, once certain people are out of the way, for a 10 region system to govern all of these regions. It's possible. Give me a second here. And I'm looking at the chat too along the way. I wanted to do this. I feel like I enjoy looking at some of the chat. Somebody's talking about buying tickets to the thing. You don't have to go. Nobody's making you go to it. It costs money to bring a bunch of people together, and it costs money to have a building. And so I don't see anything wrong with buying tickets to an event. You probably paid for
Still don't know him
today. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what you did with your money this week? So people can think what they want about that stuff, but I think that I like to support things that I enjoy. And if it means going to a Christian conference and paying money to go to it, I'll do it. And I subscribe to all kinds of people and pay to do that because what are you subscribing to? You subscribe to Netflix, Amazon, all those good things. That's the way of the world, right? They'll complain when anything that is good makes any money, but they'll be the quickest one to go buy a double cheeseburger. So there you go. All right. So if you do want to ask a question,
now you got me wanting to meet him and bash him, Di.
to put it in caps, I might notice it there. I don't know who you are, man. I'm just telling you that that's when people act like that, it's so funny to me because I guarantee you that this is one of those things, like, and I would go ahead and include this as part of the subject. This is a live, so guys, if you were watching a regular video, it'd be a lot more polished. I wouldn't go off on tangents about different things, but we'll get back into the subject here, no doubt. There's this idea that people who talk about God shouldn't make any money, which is a ridiculous thing. They're like, well, Paul was a tent maker.
This is what Bobo goes on about. They're always after money.
Well, I guarantee you that Paul sold tents to everybody to listen to him. He was probably the most popular tent maker amongst his followers. People have to do, when you do it for a job and it's something that you have to make a living off of, not you have to make a living off of, but in order to spend the amount of time that people demand of you, because people don't realize how demanding it actually is to be in a position to where lots of people want your attention. Now, lots of people want to talk to you. Lots of people want your prayers. They want all these things. They want everything. And in order to do the best job you can do, and you can never do a good enough job for anybody, but in order to do the best job, you sometimes this has to be what you do all the time. And once that becomes an option, then I don't think anything's wrong with it. I think that a lot of people demonize it, and but yet they wouldn't do their job for free. They wouldn't go and put up.
I'll play it safe and get rid of it.
They wouldn't do that, even though it's it'd be a great blessing to those people. It'd probably be even a bigger blessing than what I'm doing right now in this show for you to go through it. Some free drywall, go paint their house for free, go build a new house for free. Use your money to do it, and go rent a building and fly all these people in and do the conferences for free too while you're at it. Like, my goodness, it seems like you guys have it all figured out. It's pretty funny anyways, but yeah, I'll move on to something else. Like I said, if you have a question, put it in all caps. I got you tonight. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing a live broadcast. It's not as structured as some of the other broadcasts you might see on here. So feel free, jump in, let's talk, hang out, and have a good time. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is basically what President Donald Trump, he signed it here, so you can see that his signature is on here. I suggest that you go read it. The link to it is in the description of this video. It's not that long. It's like 29 pages, it looks like. And right here, you get to the regions area, the strategy, and you have a strategy. And basically, to kind of sum up this strategy, there are parts of the world that the United States has been very generous to regulate and very generous to help police. And some people would say they did the opposite in those countries they did, and maybe they did. I don't really know. But their thing is they want the Monroe Doctrine. They want the Western Hemisphere, where we are right now, for no international adversary to be able to impact this region at all. That means in Venezuela, where I think I said this probably like 4 months ago, watch Venezuela, we're going to go to war with Venezuela. And it looks like we're doing it now. But these countries who are getting international aid from places like Iran, China, etc., is all going to have to stop now because of this idea, because they are interrupting our possible peace. We have immigrants coming across that are being shipped from other countries going across. So it makes sense, right? It totally makes sense. Anybody with common sense knows we're in a crisis right now. I used to live in a border town, and this was long before we had a quote unquote border crisis. Like, we have worse than that, in my opinion. But this was back when it was, open borders still. People were always coming in and out. Things were happening all the time. And if you ever grew up in a border town, you'd understand. If you don't, I get why you probably would think it's not that big of a deal, because you just don't understand what can happen when full reign of cartels and stuff is allowed in an area. And so I can understand why you wouldn't like that. But so this idea is that we're going to police this area, and you're going to police these areas, and they're going to set up these divisions. Now, it doesn't say anything about 10 divisions of areas, to be transparent here. It doesn't say that. And as I said, the main reason I titled it is because of the article from Now the End Begins. But I do want to talk about the 10 Kings while we're here, in case you have no idea what in the world I'm even talking about, because some people probably literally have no idea. Let me read this real quick before. Well, I keep saying real quick, and it's probably not going to be real quick, but let me read this before we move on here. It says, to ensure that America remains the world's strongest, richest, most powerful, and most successful country for decades to come, our country needs a coherent, focused strategy for how we...
Shawnee, I've never had a nice dream. I've had sort of nightmares and some real heavy stuff, but I've never had a nice dream. They've always been bad.
Interact with the world. And to get that right, all Americans need to know what exactly it is we are trying to do and why. A strategy is a concrete, realistic plan that explains the essential connection between ends and means. It begins from an accurate assessment of what is
Hey,
desired,
Dave, good to
what
see ya.
tools are available or can realistically be created to achieve the desired outcomes. Okay, we know that. A strategy must evaluate, sort, and prioritize. Not every country, region, issue, or cause, however worthy, can be the focus of American strategy. The purpose of foreign policy is the projection of a core national interest that is the sole focus of this strategy. So I want to move down to here. It says, our elites badly miscalculated America's willingness to shoulder forever global burdens to which the American people saw no connection to the national interest. They overestimated America's ability to fund simultaneously a massive welfare, regulatory, administrative state alongside a massive military, diplomatic, intelligence, and foreign aid complex. So he's basically saying the New World Order miscalculated. The elites are part of that last class of the New World Order, to which we're slowly saying goodbye to, getting rid of the penny, getting ready to move over to digital, getting ready to get rid of all the different regular banking. You guys miscalculated. Time to move on here, let's say. And it says they allowed allies and partners to offload the costs of their defense onto American people, and sometimes to suck into conflicts and controversies central to their interests, but peripheral or irrelevant to their own. And they lashed American policy to a network of international institutions, some of which are driven by outright anti-Americanisms, and many by transnationalism that explicitly seek to dissolve individual state sovereignty. And some, not only did our elites pursue a fundamentally undesired and impossible goal,
Yeah.
in doing so, they undermined the very means necessary to achieve that goal. The character.
Diane, I don't use my phone. I use my tablet to talk on Messenger. Other than that, I use my phone. Yeah, I do sometimes, but I don't really need a phone. And I only bought a mobile phone like in the last 5 years. So I never had one before.
Of our own nation, upon which its power, wealth, and decency.
Hey, Vance, I could tell you here by all the colourful emojis.
Our elites have buried themselves under blackmail, and they've been corrupted, and they messed up, and they not only did they underestimate, it's just that when evil strikes in and ruins something, it just happens. It happens naturally. People that go to evil, their minds get inclined to evil. People can corrupt them, people can blackmail them, and then they can just take the cookie jar and just start eating cookies, and nobody's going to stop them. And that's kind of basically what we've seen happen over the last few years. Now, we've just now been able to openly expose this. And of course, you guys know we've been doing that for a while in IEC TV, and we paid the price pretty heavily. And that is what we felt like at the time we definitely needed to do. There wasn't a lot of people doing it. And that's one thing about the Midnight Ride. I think if you look at it, it was kind of ahead of its time before. Now it's like everybody can expose and you can do it and nobody cares. And it's just like this, the time for it, right? But we're at a point right now to where this stuff is going on and there's no way to outlook it. And very powerful people are doing some heinous stuff. I'm talking very, very, heinous. I don't know another worse word for it. And I'm sure there are, and you can think of some to tell me some worse words than heinous in the chat, but heinous things to our people, to themselves, to their own families, to our system, to our country in general. They've just ultimately put a stink on our society. I mean, they've taken advantage of people who are poor, taken advantage of the fatherless, the widow. And
guys, my fridge conked out yesterday. This has been the worst year since I've been Christian. This has been the worst year I've had since 2016. A lot's gone on. Everything went wrong. I had to change TVs. I had to get a new wire fuse box. Had to get a new modem. It's been a horrible year.
Is starting to come to a point to where I think that
I hate when it does that.
the piper's going to have to be paid. I really believe that that's where we're at on this. I don't know. I don't know exactly where we're at because looking to prophecy, this is the thing about prophecy. When you look at what we're talking about tonight, some people believe all this stuff already happened and some people believe it hasn't, and some people believe we're over here or over there. But I'm not here to make that argument. But what I am here to say is, like, here's some interesting things. If, in fact, they're talking about 10 regions, if you see that pop up, that's an interesting number. But you're also, another interesting number is 7, because it talks about a king coming up that has, that's more dominant, takes out other kings, and you only have 7. So, like, there's numbers to be paying attention to. I don't think that it's a bad thing to, even if you don't believe we're getting ready to come upon this, to at least be aware that it could be a biblical possibility. It could be. I'm going to take a drink here and see if there's any questions in the chat that I don't see. Thank you guys. I see some really awesome comments there. And stuff like that. And then when we move on to this next part where I can show you in the Bible the 10, the number 10, and also show you in the occult world how 10 is very important. So I'm going to take a question while I'm taking a drink here, taking a little mental break. It's late for me, guys. I don't know about you, but it's 9:22 where I'm at. And I like to be in bed by now. I like to be chilled back in the bed. But this is one of those topics I just couldn't wait to talk to you guys about. And I hope you don't mind me just like randomly out of the blue doing these, because this could be more often. But we'll see how you guys respond to it. If you guys like it enough, if enough people pound the like button and share this out, then I might make this a lot more regular, because there's times where I'm like, man, I've got to talk to somebody about this. And by the end of the day, my wife is like, we've got 5 kids, so she's like busy, and I can't just ream her head about it. We're just talking about these subjects.
Yeah, Shawnee, mum's dies for the phone to ring, and she hopes it's an Indian scammer. Then she plays that to him, and you can hear it from here. It's that loud.
All the time. I'm sure she's tired because I talk. This is like, not just this subject, but there's so many things that are on my mind. My wife stays. When I'm around, she's very, very busy with talking to me or me talking to her. So this isn't at the top of our list of things to talk about. But sometimes I like to talk about this with people, and there's not a ton of people that like to hear it like you guys do. So that's why I'm excited to be able to do that. So Battle Tested Face says, what's your take on the 2020 monolith that fell? Some weird things happened to me that brought me to Christ. Congratulations on being brought to Christ through weird things. And I'm sure that there's a club of people out there that can say a very similar thing. That's amazing. The monoliths, I don't really know what to think about that. I don't know if they're man-made. I feel like I could, make something like that and get it out there with a helicopter. Or
Hey, Bobo, good to see you, mate.
That weird ball that fell. That strikes me as odd. I don't really know what that is. I'd love to see it and really do some tests on it myself. I'm just never going to happen, but I don't really know what it is. For all I know, it's just some bunch of people making stuff up about a ball. I don't really know. They could have made it. I mean, that's also makeable. Like when I look at that ball, it looks like something that people can make. Amelia says, the Midnight Ride is one of a kind, always will be. I agree with that 100%. That's why I'm not even going to try to do anything like the Midnight Ride, because there's nothing like it. There won't be anything like it. And me and David said a long time ago, without David, it's not the Midnight Ride, and without me, it's not the Midnight Ride. It's something else. There might be something else that does something, but it's just not the Midnight Ride. So we definitely had to. I couldn't just put somebody else in my place or somebody else in David's place. It had to be done with it. All right, so here we go. The number 10. Here is the number 10 in the Roman.
Okay, so that sounds like John outgrew it now, CTV. He didn't want to put. Yeah, that sounds like that to me.
Decimal system, which you can
But he's ruthless. He wound it up.
see as an X, and then the Yod in the Hebrew. Now, 10 is a very important number. It always means like order. Like it has to do with order in the Hebrew and the Greek. It has to do with the perfect order of numbers. And so the reason that 10 leaders is very important is because I think that it's pretty easy to prove that most people that rule the world are big on numbers. They care about numbers. They care about names. They care about the.
Guys, I don't know what they're going to say about Trump here, but I've said it to you guys before. I think Trump's one of the 10 kings.
Lines in the sky, and they care about all those things, which everybody used to at one time, by the way. All of our forefathers used to care about all of those things, but the information, all of that information got lost, and all of that. And I wouldn't say lost; it's just not getting taught in our little Gentile public school systems. That they don't want us to know all these things, and these are elite tactics being taught by people. And 10 is an important number. In Atlantis, they had 10 kings as well. Some believe they were 10 Nephilim kings that ruled the Atlantis during what was called the Golden Age.
I come on late, so Phil probably went to bed early because Di's usually first and then Phil, but he didn't show up tonight, so I'm guessing he thought I wasn't streaming, so he's gone to bed. Or he's in the shower having a shave.
For those of you that have been, with me for a while, you guys know all about the Golden Age. And what is this? 2025 has all been about the Golden Age. It's been all the talks. Theosophy, Alice Bailey, actually, in her book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy, mentioned 2025 twice as being the year that the Ascended Masters would come and make themselves known, or come and just be visible. And so this is the year, right? This is the year that they look to. 10 is their perfect number of rulers, as it has been for Atlantis. And so it's very, very important. Plato wrote about that in their Atlantis. And biblically, it's very important as well. And before I move on to the biblical aspect of it, I do want to kind of go and talk a little bit about this idea of Atlantis. And so in the mystery schools, which I studied for a decade, David's spent 30, he still studies it. He's been doing it for 34 years. But one of the common, theosophical idea that they have is that Atlantis was the structure that they want to assume again one day with their governments, with how that they had the Golden Age. And Atlantis, according to Plato, really is the only, there's other people before him that talked about it, supposedly people that he heard firsthand stories about. But the basic mystery school idea, and I do believe this story of Atlantis, I believe what we're talking about is a antediluvian world, which means pre-diluvian, A-N-T-E, pre-flood world, in where Nephilim ruled the world, which we have all the legends of them now. When you see legends of Zeus and all these different people that were in different areas ruling and reigning, you have statues of these people, you have people setting up major religions towards all of these different entities. But the 10 that were at the top, and they're mentioned, and those entities were in charge of regions just like what we're talking about right here. Now, the express idea of America through Francis Bacon, at least in his writings about America, The New Atlantis is the name of the book, by the way, if you want to go check it out. It's an interesting book. And my great-grandmother, who was a Bacon, told me that we were related to the Bacon. She used to tell me all kinds of lore that I wish I could, if I had $1 million and I could say, hey, I want to just sit for an hour or two with my great-grandma and ask questions, I would. I was a foolish young man at the time, but she would say we're related. But anyway, Francis Bacon was a high-level occultist and a Rosicrucian, at least according to everything that I've read.
Francis Bacon was Shakespeare as well.
But he wrote a book and he talked about how in Atlantis before that people started practicing magic, but dark magic, and they started being evil and started hurting people and started hurting each other.
Edgar Cayce would be the expert on Atlantis, the sleeping prophet. He really knows what he's talking about with that.
And consuming each other and just like practicing dark, evil, wicked magic, like you'd see in a.
He's not God's prophet, by the way.
A Disney theater where they have probably a lot more dark and evil than that, but like they have the dark witch that overlords the area.
Okay, Shawnee, good night.
Kind of stuff like that. And
sorry, I was a bit late.
So that's what it was before. But they want to bring in technology, like So Francis Bacon, at least according to what I had thought, what my great grandmother had thought, he was a Christian, but they didn't want the evil side of things, the dark side of things, I guess, to come into play. And that's what the New Atlantis is about, like having a new science revolution, I guess you could call it, a new revolution of technology, but with God at the center of it. Yeah. So that's kind of where America is. That's the foundations. That's what it was supposed to be.
No, I had someone hack my Facebook about 5 or 6 days ago, and they got onto my friend list and requested everyone to do it again, to sign up to me again. So somehow they can hijack your Facebook, but they can only look at your friends. They can't put comments up, because that's what I was worried about.
And that's what it is now. If you look at it, that's exactly what it is. It is the new Atlantis. It is where all of the, even our DC, our District of Columbia, shows you that. It's not hard to see that that's what it is. I think that to some people it might be hard to see. It's really hard for some people to see. But if you really open your eyes and like pay attention just for a minute, and you're just like, let's see if what good old Johnny Boy is saying here tonight has any merit. Let's go through and look at the monuments. Let's look at the foundations. Let's look at what people like Francis Bacon, who played an integral role, by the way, in the United States. Let's see what he had to say. Let's see if there's any merit to any of this at all. And maybe it.
And wasn't it Francis Bacon who stopped the Spanish Armada? I'm pretty sure it was.
It will pique your interest. And if you're listening this far in, well, we are live, so anybody could jump in any time, but you probably agree with me to a certain extent. So, there's a lot more to this Atlantis thing, but a lot of people in the Bible, it talks about a flood destroying the world. Atlantis talks about being overtaken by a flood. There's just so many parallels to this, and there's even people that believe that there were the tall people that were here. A lot of people called them the blonde-headed people that were over there. I can't remember that. In every society there are people like this. Even down in South America, you'll see these stories of these, they call them like feathered serpents or people like that are kind of like a Viking type people that teach them how to farm, how to plant, how to mine, how to do different things, and teach them how to trade and stuff like that. And then they disappeared for a while. And a lot of these people, like Manly P. Hall, gave a long lecture one time talking about how he talked about these Atlanteans. He believed they were Atlanteans that escaped the eternal flood, but passed on the information pre-flood to the other people. So there's
And Bobo.
a lot there. I'm going to take another question. So if you got a question, throw it up in the caps, and I'm going to go on to read the Bible.
We're good at our Christian history as well. We're all up to date here. We're pretty advanced here. I'm not being proud. I'm just saying we really cover the end days really well. So, yeah.
And read more scriptures about the 10 kings. That's what we're here to talk about tonight. So
You're going to say Trump's one.
Man, you guys are in here tonight, man. There's a lot of people. I just noticed how many people are in here talking and chatting. You guys are awesome tonight. Really cool. And if you didn't join us live and you're just in the comments, just if you subscribe and hit the notification bell, hopefully, you'll get the notification. I know that doesn't happen all the time, but hopefully you will, and you'll be able to join us live, because it's a different energy in the chat for some reason. There's these guys are out there just going whole hog in here. So I can't pay attention to it all the time, but every now and then I do. So anyways, all caps, guys, if you want questions. I see that a few question marks. I see a question mark here, so I'm going to go to that. It says, stink bug just flew in my beer. It says Indiana, by the way, Southern Indiana. Stink bugs are on the move big time. Toastmaster says, can we trust Ronald Chump? I think you mean Donald Trump. And I would say you can't trust anybody. You probably can't even trust the people in your house. You know what I mean? So, to be honest with you, you can trust them. I don't like don't say that. But anybody's capable of anything, depending on the circumstance. So you can't really put trust in a man. Like, that's what I mean to say. I'm not saying you can't trust your wife or your children or whatever. I don't know. I don't know your wife or children or your husband or whoever you are. I don't know them, so you may not be able to trust them. But ultimately, like, all people are corruptible and capable of all those types of things. So anyway, let's go on to the scriptures here. Let's read about these 10 kings. I'm just going to read them. I'm not going to try to put all my thoughts into eschatology, where we're at, all this. I just want you to see that this 10 king thing is very important. And if this is what happens, it's something to pay attention to, it's something to be aware of, because I'll tell you right now that
Yeah.
It's looking like that the whole world's going to have to do something. We're in a position, you heard what Dalio said, we're in a position now to we're powerful.
And vast. I think God protected England then because England had just gone Protestant, remember? And I'm pretty sure the winds blew. Yeah, they didn't even land because of the winds. I reckon that was God watching their back for them because it was the Catholics attacking them.
Is going to have to speak because we don't have that hold that we used to have. And really, with what Trump said here, he said the same thing. We don't have the hold over the entire world. And people like China, like if you look at cities like, I can't even remember the name of the city in China, they're more advanced than we are. They have better money, all the different things. So, I mean, everything you hear about the United States isn't always the truth, but I'll tell you right now that things are getting ready to go down in a different way maybe than what we understand. And I don't know what that is. I've always theorized many different things. I think that the Bible tells us, you know, it looks like there's going to be peace, right? It looks like peace. And I think for a little while it may be, but I think when everybody's wanting peace and all the peace kind of comes down, then all of a sudden, like the Bible says, sudden destruction. So I think we're either on the precipice of that or we're way off and we got 100 years, 1,000 years, and all of a sudden technology is going to take a dive and we're going to go back to the Stone Age for that more time. I think that's a possibility as well. Who knows? But Daniel 2, 40 through 43, it says in the fourth kingdom, this is all very similar to the talk in Revelation. It's like, you know, it's, people cross-reference these verses in Daniel and Revelation all the time because they go hand in hand. It says, in the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all things shall it break into pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay and part of the iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And so, and I'm going to read the rest of this. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So this is an interesting cryptic verse. I'm just going to take the time to look at it a little bit. So these 10 feet, 10 toes, 10 feet. So you got the number 10 here, looking at 10 divisions of the toes of the feet. I wouldn't have mentioned toes of the feet if it didn't have any kind of correlation. And then it talks about iron mixing with miry clay. And it talks about their seed will mix with the seed of men. So they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. What does that mean? It could mean a lot of things. It could mean that the Nephilim or the fallen angels are trying to mingle their seed with the seed of men. It could mean, because it's saying iron, it could have something to do with machines. It could have something to do with AI. It could have something to do with a lot of those things. I don't really know for certain exactly what that means, but it seems to be very important. It talks about mingling their seed with the seed of man. And we know what seed is. It's not talking about grass seeds. It's talking about their seed. What is a seed of a robot or seed of a man? So next verse here. Trying to keep this mic with me, guys. Forgive me. And Daniel 7:7, it says, and after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, and it skipped ahead here, and it devoured and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So this fourth beast didn't only have 10 horns, but also they had the 10 toes over there, a different vision. This one had 10 horns, and so we see this common element. He goes on to explain what those are, and actually Revelation explains it the best. It says, and I'm just reading the relevant verses to what we're talking about here, Revelation. I definitely always suggest going and reading the whole thing for yourself. And don't take a lot of word for it. Don't take anybody's word for that matter. There's a lot of people that want to claim theological dominance, and they think that their theology is just some unique aspect of the world. But look, we are 2,000 years away from the antediluvian church fathers and from the Gospels. And there's not one denomination out there that seems to be anywhere close to any of those. So let's just stop with all the arrogant stuff out here. So let's read up.
Where does it say the 10 kings were fallen angels, Fast? I've never heard that.
Revelation here. Read the rest if you want. Let the Holy Spirit teach you. Don't sit there and lie up underneath a pastor or a rabbi that thinks they know it all. There's nobody out there like that. So in verse 3 it says, "So you carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth." And so verse 3 already tells us you got a woman sits upon the beast, and the beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. And then it tells you more about what's written on the harlot, which is this phrase right here that I highlighted. We're going to verse 12. It says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast." So this tells you exactly what they are. They're 10 kings that receive power 1 hour with the beast. So that
If they were fallen angels, they'd already have that power, Vast.
that's exactly what they are. There's no really, a lot of people have said, well, they're 10 regions. I'm sure that there'll be 10 regions considered. But ultimately the kings are people. So the regions do matter, but at the same time, it does have it has everything to do with the kings that are set up over these areas. And so, verse 13, "They have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." And verse 16, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So I want to focus in on 13 and 16 for a second before I read the next verse. They'll have one mind together, so it means they'll be unified, which is what number 10 means, a unified, strong, central power that works together. They'll be unified, and they'll give their power over to the beast. And that tells me that the 10 kings must come into power before the beast comes into power. I know a lot of people haven't considered that, but that's exactly what it says. And then they'll hate the whore. And the whore, if you look at this, has been the one riding the beast. So when you ride something, it means you're in control. You're taking the harness. You are being toted around by this. You are being brought around, and it says she has a cup of abomination. She's dressed royal, so she's been treated well by the beast up to this point, and she's on top of it, and she's made everybody drunk with her abomination. She's ruined basically all the kings of the world. And so at this point, this is when this beast comes. These 10 horns, which are the 10 kings, they will absolutely hate this whore, and they're going to burn her with fire. They're going to throw her off the back. No more somebody controlling the strings of the beast. She is going to go over the back and be burnt. It'll be done. And I'm not here to tell you who that is. I know who it is. You guys can read the Bible, and if you look at enough verses and you figure it out, cross-reference enough, you'll know exactly who it is. I've talked about it before. And it says, verse 17, it says, "For God had put it in their hearts to fulfill his wrath and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the word of God shall be fulfilled." So this is one thing, too. People give me grief for saying anything good about Trump or anything good about all the expose that's coming. But I do want to see this part where the whore gets thrown off the back, because you guys do realize that the dark side of everything was this whore that was riding the beast. All of the horrible, crazy, wicked, destructive, nasty, horrifying stuff that's been done in the world is done because of this entity riding the back of the beast. And it says here in verse 17 that, "And to agree to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled." It also says at the beginning of the verse, "For God had put it in their hearts to fulfill his will." So it's God's will. Whatever they're doing is God's will. And so that's why it doesn't look that bad sometimes. You look at this stuff and it's like, it looks great. Of course, I like what that's doing. I don't want a bunch of killers in my land. I don't want these people to run rampant. I don't want evil people to be able to operate everywhere they go. I love that, So it makes sense why you would love it, because it's supposed to happen. This is exactly what's going to happen. But what happens after that, what happens once this entity is ruined off the back of the beast, these kings that do this give their power over to the beast. And if you think the horror was bad, imagine what the beast might be like once Satan is unleashed, once the angels are unleashed from the abyss. So there's a lot to all of that, and there's a lot of speculation in that, because that goes along the lines that we are in this time, and we either are or we aren't. I don't know. It seems that way sometimes, for sure it does, and whether or not that's the case is one of those things that remains to be seen. We've heard a lot over the years. I've been hearing that the end of the world is going to happen since I was a young child. I've been hearing it, and I'm sure my parents heard it. I'm sure that people before them heard it. But the fact is that evil is being shown to us, good is being shown to us. And right now, this whole
G'day, Phil. Good to see you, mate.
See with what's going to happen, we're going to have to watch. We're going to have to pay attention. Don't fall for any random stuff out there. There's so many things out there, people that are quick on the bandwagon to say, look, it's set in stone. This is the Antichrist or this. We speculated a lot, but basically almost everything that you're going to encounter from humans is going to be speculation or what they believe that the Word of God says. So remember that. That's one thing that I think is really important to understand. Like, you have to know that most of these people out here that you find on YouTube, or if you just, even worse, if you go into a building with a church sometimes, but they're operating underneath a fragmented worldview, just like all of us are. And we have to understand that if we are to understand all of this, we're going to have to rely on the Holy Spirit to help guide us, and hopefully use people like myself and other people too that are also, like I said, fragmented. We don't know it all. Nobody does. And when people talk like they do with a real authority all the time, it really actually bothers me a lot, because I didn't really realize this till the last couple of years, but they don't know. They really don't know. But they speak like they do. They speak with advanced authority, like they just understand it all. You know, they know all the Hebrew, they know all the things, they know all the ins and outs of every little thing, and they know more than every scholar that's come before them. And we have to know that that's not the truth. We have to know that. We have to be willing to look at what the Holy Spirit has to say, let that guide us into the truth with all of these things. But there is a lot going on over there. I mean, there's no doubt peace plans all over the place. Trump is the man of peace. He's the dove. What does that mean to us biblically? It could mean a lot of things, or it could mean nothing, depending on where we're at. So I think that it's important that we do that. I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then I'm going to move on. So I'm going to do that just because I am, like I said, I'm just chilling tonight. I'm having fun with you guys, and I normally don't go live on Mondays. Or is it Monday? On Mondays. I even got mixed up what day it is. I've been just so busy here. I feel like in this cave, it's like a cave. It's like my own little cave. It's like the homeschool room / my office. And I've been in here for days because it's been so cold. Just been working. And I've done other stuff too, obviously. I mean, I was just out today in El City and running around and doing stuff like that. But when stuff like this comes up and I feel led to speak, I'm going to do it. I know some people may absolutely hate it. So like I was going to say, there is a question here. They're all caps in the questions, by the way. And also, too, if you guys want to support us in any way, there's links in the description. Support Now You See TV to keep us being able to keep me being able to do this as often as I like. I would love to even pop up stuff more often, but the more that this environment costs, the more I have to do other work in order to do this. So if you want to see more of me, go check out Now You See TV. Also, we do give to widows. We do have other funds that we take care of as well. So check it out. Okay, here's the question.
So he tells you what he's going to do with his money. Paul Begley, the only time he told us what he's going to do with his money was when he begged us to pay for an RV so he'd go to Hawaii to give away free Bibles. Never heard of that again. We've been watching Paul Begley for 5 or 6 years. I don't know how long, but a while. And not once has he done that. Not once has he said, well, the money's going here for this person, the money's going this charity. He doesn't do that. He pockets a lot.
Get Ready 2025 says, what do you think of Russia of leading the way for decolonization?
Of what?
Hmm.
Decolonization.
Biblically,
Of what?
prophetically, I don't know that that's even going to be a real thing. I think that they're going to want to, and I think that I really think what's going to happen, if you're wanting my opinion, because that's all it is, I think there's going to be a short period that a lot of good policies are taken, and there's going to be prosperity for a little while. I don't know how long. I would imagine not forever, not very long, maybe. There's going to be prosperity, and then all of the power that gets summed up together is going to be given over to an entity that is going to sew it down. And there's probably going to be a lot of wars in between that. Whole people groups are going to have to disappear in order for absolute control to manifest in this world, because there are parts of the world that are completely unaccustomed to technology, to the point to where if you were walking around, if I was walking around in there with my cell phone out, there's in some areas of these parts of the Middle East and stuff, they might kill me thinking I'm a witch or something because I have something that does that. So this is how parts of the world are not able to be controlled. So I think there's going to have to be a controlled demolition of certain religions and parts of the world. I think that Christianity itself is going to have to be taken out of the way somehow. Real Christianity, not the fake kind, is going to have to be taken out of the way in some way, shape, or form for them to fully implement all this stuff, or they just deceive everybody, which is probably the most likely case. And then the ones that don't be deceived, that's the one that they'll try to do. But I think that Russia has an interesting role. I think that geopolitically, biblically, they have a very strong role in being like in the lands of the north and stuff like that. So Gog Magog wars and stuff, they have a part in that. And I'll tell you this dream I had. I know some people don't care about dreams at all. I wrote it down a long time ago because it freaked me out. I had a dream. I was laying in the
I believe in dreams. 100% I believe in dreams.
bed. I'm going to make it quick because a lot of people don't like to hear dreams. I was in my bed. An angel grabs me by the hair, takes me up in the sky, and I look down, and there's Russian and Chinese.
Yeah, Bobo, they're the guys we don't like. We stay well away from them. And the people that do go there and get fleece, we pray for them because they're just blind goats. But yeah, we don't follow people who keep begging for money.
War vessels, water vessels, and troops and everything surrounding the United States. News channels are completely silent. Don't ask me how I knew that while he was holding me up there, but I knew it. There was nobody saying anything. Silence. Nobody. A lot of people didn't even know. Most people didn't even know because it was happening at the coast. And then that was it. That was basically how it happened. So if it happens, you may not even know. Whatever happens might happen way more quickly than we know. I think that everything's been a controlled opposition up to this point. They start like the founding fathers or the architects, if you will, founded these things knowing that they would knowing that they would have to demolish them, or at least a certain element within the founding fathers knew that they would have to demolish them and start something new in order to make something happen. Because order out of chaos is the name of the game. That's what's on the that's their quote, order out of chaos. It's on the Scottish Rite label. Look up Scottish Rite, you'll see ordo out of chaos, or out of chaos in English is what it says. And so that's what they want. Pony Girl says, John off target, what about the Puritan Barn? So the Puritan Barn is one of those things that it was, when I bought it, it was in 2020, I believe, is when we bought.
Bobo, do what a lot of your young blokes do in England. Come to Bondi Beach for Christmas Day. I'll even meet you and have a beer there. That's on the to-do list with you guys.
And that's when everything was shut down and we weren't able to have events anywhere. And so for the time being, we really needed a place for an event, and David needed a place to live.
Yeah.
Well, David no longer needs a place to live, and I no longer need a place to have an event.
Sharks only eat about 1 or 2 people a year here, so it's worth it. Unless you're the one getting eaten.
So there's a chance that we are going to get rid of it, but there's also another chance that's even more exciting, and I really want you guys to pray for it. This is the first I've ever even told anybody publicly about this, but there's also the possibility of making the Puritan Barn a orphanage, and also having widows that are in the ones that are taking care of the kids.
See, Bobo, he's saying where the money goes. That guy the other day, he doesn't say where it's going, he just collects it.
In the orphanage. So there's that possibility as well. Pray about that, because that's always been on my heart. You can ask anybody that's around me. It's an environment I kind of grew up in. I wasn't an orphan, but I grew up on a property that this was what the ministry was. And it was a blessing. And it's something that I feel like widows and orphans is something huge to me. As you guys know, some of you guys help and we take care of widows, give them money to help them live, because obviously you guys know that it's a scary world for them out there. But
Can you hear that cat meowing? One of the scammers just rang Mum up.
we'd love to be able to help them as well. So that's possibly in the future, or it's going to get sold, one of the two. Because other than that, it's a big money hole if we're not having events at it. And even when we do have events at it, it's not like we
Hello,
make it up to
Mary.
keep
Come
the barn
on.
just by having
Sit
events
down
there.
there.
So
Up.
that's kind of where that's at. So
Very good girl you are.
another question, I guess I'll take. Why not? I'm having fun. Let's do this. Am I still part of 90C TV, and are you and David still friends? So yes, this is actually 90C TV. I know a lot of people were really confused about that, because 90C TV is something I started in 2010. I annexed David for the Midnight Ride in 2016, and we partnered on a lot of different things for the year. So it's easy to see that you would think that, but me and David are still friends. He came on my show over on Pounder's Quest the other day, and that show's up there. We talked about Beyond the Ice Wall and Antarctica and stuff like that. But like I said before, the
Can I
Midnight
sub to
Ride
these guys?
is
This is an AC mod.
that's something that we're very proud of. We did for 10 years. We impacted so many people. Millions of people saw it. Thousands of people, and tens of thousands of people professed Christ. Thousands of people got baptized, and people are still watching it right now. Every single one of those old ones, it's not like they're gone. They're there. Thousands of people are watching them right now. As we're talking, they're still watching those old broadcasts on YouTube, watching and watching and watching. Even older broadcasts we have on our website, nystv.org, which you can check out those for free. But for those of you that want to support us in any way, we have ways you can donate or our website. And
I think now CTV's best video was the one they done on the Nostradamus and how he was the Masonics prophet. Yeah.
our website, we have exclusive content on there for those of you that do it like that. And if you donate, we do appreciate that so much. It's definitely a blessing, because there's always visions that I have for 90C TV that require certain things for them to happen. And I can tell you that when we moved into I never lived in the barn, by the way, but when we moved our offices to the Puritan Barn, I just had a feeling about the building. I just didn't know what, but things got out of control, hectic here and there. There's a lot that went on that you guys probably have no idea about. That it was a stress situation many times, having people know where we're at all the time. There would be people that would come and try to, I feel like, take advantage of David and Donna in their years. And when I say take advantage, I mean they would come in and do stuff that, and you guys seen it happen over and over. And they'd come in and they leave, start their own thing, try to smear everything, and then they would smear me along the way. And I always got caught in the crossfire, and I always lost a lot through those interactions, even though I rarely knew any of those people. Like half the people that came out of FOJC, I barely knew. The only one that I've known, even to an extent, that's come out of there more than just a little bit would be Brian Reese. So The rest of them I've met maybe a couple times. So, but yet they still got their claws in and did that. So it became one of those things. And I think there's ways to troubleshoot that.
Geez, David Correcchio, however you say his last name, he's a man of God, and he's getting intimidated by whoever's surrounding him. Isn't that sad? Getting that old and getting intimidated.
But we'll see. WCM WFAB 935 says, where'd that go? Your take on the international dateline missing 3 hours of land, 21 versus 24 hours a day, land of Jesus. That's an interesting concept there.
What was it?
That's an interesting concept. I can't really, say.
What was it? What was it? I missed it.
Come in and, do stuff that, and you said I've seen it happen over and over, and they come in and they leave, start their own thing, try to smear everything, and then they would smear me along the way, and I always got caught in the crossfire, and I always lost a lot through those interactions, even though I rarely knew any of those people. Like half the people that came out of FOJC, I barely knew. The only one that I've known, even to an extent, that's come out of there more than just a little bit, would be Brian Reese. So the rest of them I've met maybe a couple times. So, but yet they still got their claws in and did that. So it became one of those things, and I think there's ways to troubleshoot that, but we'll see. WCM WFAB 935 says, where'd that go? Your take on the international dateline missing 3 hours of land, 21 versus 24 hours a day, land of Jesus. That's an interesting concept there. That's an interesting concept. I can't really, say much more than that's an interesting concept. It would be unique if that were the case, and it would definitely give credence to the idea that the millennial reign is happening.
Okay, what is he actually saying? It sounds like he's saying that when they measure the land, when they get to a certain spot, you can't see it anymore, but the land's there and you can't see it. And they're saying, is that where the millennial reign's happening? I think that's what they're saying.
Somewhere other than what we understand, or it's happened and it's there. There's definitely some weird things and weird vibes with some of these areas we're not allowed to go. Yeah. So somebody else says, what happened? What happened
I meant Nostradamus.
to the other John? Rook X says, what happened to the other John? Miss that man. I miss John too. I don't see him that much or hear from him at all, hardly ever, or text every here and there. But that's one of those things that he was. It was time. For one, you gotta understand this.
Yeah.
A lot of people think now UCT makes a ton of money. At one time, we were able to afford several employees, but after the all of the stuff happened with the world, everything went up. We're actually making less at Now UCTV.
Diane, normal TV, it's boring, isn't it? There's nothing to watch. You get much more excitement and entertainment going on YouTube. But the only time I watch TV now is to watch the news or sport. Or if there's a good reality program, I like them as well.
Last year and this year than we were in 2020, and everything costs like 3 times more. People think that, this or that, but I think there was a lot of misrepresentations about what happened with John. He didn't say much. I didn't say much. Because honestly, you never know how things are going to go. I trusted John that he wasn't going to try to smear us or do anything like that. But up to a certain point, I'm used to it. It happens every single time, just about that somebody wants to leave. They want to take a bunch of people with them. That's usually why people get in with it. And I knew John that wasn't like that. But he also...
See, what they tell us on the 6 o'clock news, we learned like 2 days before. That's how come we're so ahead.
was very personal.
Come
John
on,
has his
I'll be
own
helping
quirks. He
you.
would
Come on.
call himself quirky for a reason. He
Jump,
has his own
jump.
quirks.
Good girl.
No
Good girl.
idea what all the details behind everything that's going on in his life are at all. I have no clue. I know that it was time, though. It was time. He had gotten blackballed by YouTube and by everything to the point to where he couldn't make money anymore. I mean, I wasn't able to afford to keep him on, and we were losing money by keeping him on. And same with other people as well. You know, what happened, that's just the rate of it. That's what happens. Things happen. Everybody lost out money. So we actually, obviously had, plus more people were being annexed onto the ministries. So people would split their donations different ways. And so things were kind of like slowly dwindling to a point to where I'm like, like something's got to be done here. But it's like, now it just seems like God just kind of brought things full circle.
Bobo, I love the Marvel and DC franchises. I love the Thor and Superman and all that.
To where they need to be through all of the.
But even they've gone bad the last 5 years. They tried to go woke, and every film that had woke in it failed.
Listen, that's the only thing about all of this stuff was that I think that when you really look at it from an outside, like I'm looking at it now from the outside, and I look at it and I see it's just really, really hard to be a minister in any way, shape, or form. Is really, really, really hard. And sometimes you get attacked so hard that it wants to break you down mentally, spiritually, in every way, depending on your personality. And John, I loved John, and he was a great guy. His personality was, he took things very hard. He took the news very hard, and he reported on that every day. I did ask him many times to please, let's go to something else if it's bothering you. But it hurt him. And then the comments and things like that, and when in companies like the news, where you're in the news and talking, you're going to receive that, or you're in ministry, you're going to receive that. All of those things happen. Somebody's asking how me and Dan are good. And I just texted him the other day. So I don't, you guys think probably we talk all the time, all of us, but it's not the case. We all have our families. I have 5 children, a wife. I have several that I have to maintain, relationships that I have to maintain, time to research and do videos with you guys, do all that. So we don't, they may talk more. I don't not have ever been a big talker on the phone. Like nobody's ever going to accuse me of somebody who likes to talk on the phone very often. Some people will talk on the phone to me a lot, and I get here.
Last Dragon Ball Z, it makes a great video game, PlayStation game, and they got one Wolverine that's coming out early next year.
Irritated with it sometimes because
And they're so advanced now, I can't wait. I love my games. I usually play an hour afternoon. I get a bit bored waiting for something to come on or something, and I'll play it. I like to play live poker in a Western game I play as well.
it's like
I'm pretty good at poker.
which I feel like I just only got so much time in a day. I'm a very, very hardcore focused person. Like I just like to focus in on stuff. So Johnny's saying money's the problem.
Yeah, Phil, Chris Hemsworth, he's so cool, isn't he? I can't tell if he's good looking. I'm a guy, but apparently he's really good looking, but he's not a wanker about it. He's not an idiot about it.
I don't know where you heard that, bro. You must have a hearing problem. Never said money was the problem at all. Just said that was why he couldn't do it anymore. Are you going to pay for his bills? Unless you are, then don't worry about it. It's not a problem unless you're willing to pay for it. If you're willing to pay for it, then it's not a problem at all, I guess, huh? So that's the thing about people. They don't understand
Well
that
said.
it takes money to do it. If you can't do this at this level without money. There's all these channels that say, oh, now you see TV. I do this every day because I make money and I don't need to make money doing it. Well, your videos suck and nobody watches you because you don't put the effort and time into actually researching your information and going through it. That's what it takes. So whatever. I mean, that's the way I look at it. I don't feel shame about it at all because, for one, I'm not milking people. I don't live in a mansion. I'm not sitting here riding a Rolls Royce or a Benz or doing any of those things. And neither are any of my friends. Neither are Dan, neither are David, neither are none of these people. You guys, some of you guys have got it twisted, have no idea what it takes to do anything. And I don't know you, Johnny Kirk. I know I've seen you in the chat before, but I'm just being real about it.
See, Bobo, that's why some of them ask for money. He doesn't even ask for money, and look at the debt he's in.
Like this, people that want to say this kind of thing, they just don't know what it takes. And if they do, I want to see it. So, and money is a tool. To hate money is stupid. To be like a person that's like, I don't like money. The love of money is the real of evil. If you're out there worshiping money and mammon is over God, then yeah, it's bad. But money isn't bad. It's good. It's good to help people. You know how many people that need money to survive? Everybody watching here. I guarantee you, not one of you here is by free. Your internet's not free. Your phone's not free. Your computer's not free. Nothing you have is free that you're using, but you'll gladly pay that bill unless you're homeless. And if you're homeless, then good on you if that's what you like.
Bobo, I don't bet on the horses or anything like that because I can't control the outcome. But with Texas Hold'em, if you know what you're doing, you should win. You should win. If you know what you're doing playing Texas Hold'em, you should win because you can read the card in your hand and okay, if you play well, it's hard to get beat.
You know, that's the way it all works. So if there's any more questions, let's see. The Rebecca Young says, who is the Spec Ops guy that spoke at SpiracyCon? That was Mike. And Mike Edwards, and I've had him on here before. I'm going to have him on here pretty soon. But a pretty interesting guy, to say the least. All right. I don't know. Okay, sorry. I thought somebody was talking to me there, but they were just yelling, I guess. I'm going back a little bit. I'm going to do one more question, guys, and I'm going to have to bounce off of here. So I'm going to make it a good question. I'm going to make it a good answer. I'm going to spend a lot of effort into it. So let's see what you guys got. I'm not going to go back in the chat anymore. I'm getting my head spinning from scrolling back in there. But here we go.
Okay, I'll go first. Is Bobo a catfish, John? Have we got a catfish amongst us?
Let's see, guys. Come on, Donna.
Just kidding, Bobo.
I'm the one getting asked the question, so I guess that music's for me. I don't want to, my voice is so perfect with that song. I don't want to get a copyright strike, so I won't sing it anymore. Just money was a problem, Johnny, for John to be able to do this. I've done this for free for many years. I did it for free when it started. I don't expect my employees and people that work for money to do it for free. And if they want to do it for free, that's them. John had the opportunity to do his own ministry right after this. In fact, I gave him Cutting Edge YouTube channel, so he had an opportunity to continue doing it for free if he wanted to. And nobody that's ever worked for NIUC TV did it for free. That's one thing I can say about NIUC TV. We paid everybody that worked for us. We never had employees that didn't get paid. And if they do it for money, that's what you got to pay them to do, right? So the workman gets his money. And if they want to keep doing it for free, they all have the tools. Everybody that's ever worked for me has the tools to keep going. Jay Grant kept going. John may keep going one day. They do it. They all have the tools. They all have the know-how. They all have the understanding. And because I taught it to them. So there you go. Oh, here we go.
Last question.
This is a good one, Bill O'Connell. I appreciate your sharing, by the way. I see you on Facebook sharing all the time, here sharing all the time. It says, what events would bring the Antichrist to be revealed?
Good question.
So once again, depending on what timeline we're in,
Obviously that.
and when I mean timeline, eschatological timeline, I would say the majority of Christians believe in a ideology to where Jesus Christ has not returned yet, and he hasn't returned yet, and when he returns, he's going to either rapture us or the tribulation starts happening. So some people believe the tribulation is getting ready to happen pre-trib. Most people are pre-trib, I would say 90% pre-trib. Some people are mid-trib. Some people are post-trib. Some people, there's people all over the map. There's preterists that believe everything's done and the Bible is no longer even relevant. And then there's Satan's little season that believes that we are post-millennial reign.
Bobo, Satan's already walking the earth. He's been doing so for 2,000 years.
And that Satan has been unleashed and has deceived.
Yeah, no more live.
So those are the main ideas, and that's a new one. That's not something that's been.
He hung the ACTV up, the actual David Carrico and his interviews.
Around for a long time. That's a new one based off of what people believe is new information that leads them to believe that. And so if you believe that we are pre-millennial reign, then, which is crazy to me because I don't know how some people get by all this. Like in my mind, that's why I've never really pinned down on a eschatology, because no matter what, there's a problem with it. There's a problem with everybody's eschatology, like that I know. In my own mind, there is anyway. Now, bro, like, what is your problem, man? Like, I don't understand what the problem is with you. You got a problem with money. You got a problem with me having a drink if I want to. What if I want to have a drink? What if I want to have a beer? Is that, bother you? I wouldn't do it on the air, by the way. But, here's the deal. People that like to sit and harp and barber, you got your own skeletons that you need to worry about. I already know. And so there you go. Everybody does. So.
And the Bible says you're allowed to drink. You just can't be a drunkard. Okay, that's him over. Okay. I'll do this one first and then I'll do the Alex Jones one. Then I'll hang up, guys. So we're here for another 45 minutes.
A new generation slingshot, carefully crafted by a
this looks mad. Look at this.
Pistol and legally ownable without any permits, compatible with steel balls, stones, or darts, and able to effortlessly hit any target within 200 meters without practice. This new style slingshot went viral as soon as it launched. Made entirely of tungsten steel, so it never.
That one. You wouldn't be able to buy that slingshot here. It'd be outlawed.
I'll tell you what's a dictatorship, and I'll tell you what's an authoritarian regime.
Eventually, I think we're going to see widespread slaughter in Europe.
Keir Starmer is taking us into a military union with the EU.
Oh, that's a nasty one. Elon has not called me to ask for help in that one.
Golan is not just a religious textbook, it's a social political framework.
It's cancelling elections. It's cancelling jury trials. It's not us, it's you.
I'm going to fight not through the bullet.
Vast. I think that Three-Eye Atlas, I think that's a spaceship. I really do. I might look an idiot at the end, but as it stands, I think it's true. So many backyard telescope guys have filmed it. They filmed flashing lights inside of it. They put one on 6-minute delays and it pulsed light. It's supposed to just be a comet. So how's it got light coming out from inside it on and off? And they're regular, like it's for argument's sake, every 2 minutes.
$100. He literally made that phrase in Arabic.
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment.
Now, when we head over to the official EU Commission website.
No, if I get caught with a gun, I'll do a lot of time.
Look, Europe has to be very careful. We're doing a lot of things. We want to keep Europe.
Diane's also known as Annie Oakley. She's catfishing us as Diane.
I'm a Hafiz, and I was in Iran because I was born there. They forced us to stop.
Vast, I think it is a mothership. I really do.
The Quran.
So things have escalated extremely rapidly recently, especially over here in Europe. And I have a lot of video clips to show you and a lot of information to go through as well. From Donald Trump to Elon Musk to Muslims in Italy doing some very questionable things. Before we get into that though, and the deeper information regarding the EU and what has escalated to the point we're at today and the responses to the EU, let's start off with something a little lighthearted. And although it is kind of hilarious, it also outlines the severity and dangers of these types of head coverings. Take a look. This post here is from Harman Singh Kapoor, and he says, a Pakistani man from Lahore named Muhammad Ali Murza, disguised in a Muslim's woman's attire, a burqa, was caught shoplifting in London. And then he says, ban the burqa now.
I tell you what, if that happened in Iran or Syria or something, they would stone him to death for that.
So yeah, although this clip is a little bit funny, it also highlights the serious danger of these types of face coverings. Because this is a man dressed up in a female Islamic face covering and shoplifting. Clearly, it is a national security risk. And you have to really think about things deeper than just the surface level. If somebody is going to use this for this, what else could they use it for? Now, recently, Elon Musk gave a severe warning to the West, and a few events unfolded after that, which we'll get into. But take a listen to this warning.
I mean, you're clearly seeing a massive increase in the number of attacks in Italy and broadly in Europe. And the media, the legacy media, downplays these attacks.
By the way, I have a very serious clip to show you from Italy in a moment.
The attacks, the killing of innocent people is rising. Every week there's more. And it's more and more. And eventually, I think we're going to see widespread slaughter in Europe.
Now, if you haven't seen my previous video, this one here, Ant Middleton's warning and Britain, definitely watch it after this one because it ties in with what Elon Musk just said. But we have a lot to go through in this one anyway.
That is the trend. If you simply extrapolate the trend of what is the rate at which the attacks are occurring in Europe, and put those points, it's basically deadly attacks versus time on a graph. And extrapolate that graph, it leads to the slaughter of Europe.
Let me know what you think about that claim in the comment section below. And according to Elon Musk, this is why he purchased X in the first place, Twitter.
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
And it's definitely a great thing that he did purchase X, especially for people in the UK. Now, recently, something pretty severe happened, okay, regarding the EU. And
okay, here's something happened with X that I noticed. I don't know if anyone else noticed, but since Musk has been in charge of X, you're allowed more stuff on YouTube now. I play stuff like 2 years ago that would give me a community strike. Like Tommy Robinson, if you even mention him, you get a community strike. But now they've loosened up the rules, and I reckon because of what happened in the States.
X. This is what Gert Wilders had to say about it. Nobody elected you. You represent no one. You are a totalitarian institution and can't even spell the words freedom of speech. We should not accept the fining of X, but abolish the EU Commission. Pretty bold words. And this is the EU Commission, by the way. They have 1.8 million followers. They were not elected, and they sit in this position of power. How and why? That's what many people are currently wondering. Ben Habib also weighed in on this. I am delighted Elon Musk sees the EU for what it is. Keir Starmer, which is the Prime Minister of the UK, by the way, is taking us into a military union with the EU. Now listen to this. That would be the end of an independent British military. That is absolutely insane. Right? Think about that for a moment. An anti-democratic, anti-British institution in control of our military. Starmer himself is anti-British. And this is what led to that entire situation. The
Thanks, Di, you're a brick.
EU should be abolished and sovereignty returned to its individual countries so that governments can better represent their people. Now, the EU tried to fine Elon Musk for millions, even though he provides a platform where people actually have freedom of speech more than the majority of other platforms, by the way. And this is what Trump had to say about it.
You're talking about, is that European Union or is it, who did that? European Union or UK? European Commission. Whoa, that's a nasty one. I don't know. Elon has not called me to ask for help in that one. But no, it's a tough thing. I don't think it's right. No, I don't think it's right. I don't see, how they can do that. No. I'll speak about it later. I'm gonna get a full report on it. Look, Europe has to be very careful. They're doing a lot of things. We want to keep Europe. Europe is going in some bad directions. It's very bad for the people. We don't want Europe to change so much. They're going in some very bad directions. That was a big thing.
I definitely agree with Trump here, right? Europe is going in a terrible direction. Even though there is pushback, people such as yourself are waking up to what is actually
too late.
And it's very important that we keep talking about these issues, sharing facts with it.
I reckon the country in the West that's going to fall the quickest will be England. They've already lost England.
Evidence, not just random claims, but facts with evidence. That's what I do on this channel. If you're not already subscribed, by the way, do subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. It greatly helps out the channel and it's free for you to do. Oh, and I'm going to show you that Italy clip in a moment, but this meme is pretty hilarious, right? EU fined X 120 million to her ex. X became more popular. X became the #1 news app in every EU country. I mean, you can't really make this stuff up. It's kind of hilarious. Anyway, here's that clip. In Florence, Italy, an illegal migrant attempted to blow up a residential building by trying to set fire to a gas pipe. Later, he is identified as Mohammed Abid from Pakistan, who had entered illegally in Italy. Reportedly, he was deported last week. Yeah, this is the state of Europe right now, honestly.
What a numbskull. If that blew, they would blow him across the other side of the street. How stupid is this guy? Blow up, blow up. Right in his face, blow up. Go round up some of the local boys and sort this goose out.
I mean, what is going on in Europe? How are these people getting into Europe and then attempting to do these types of things? Before we move on, I want to show you this clip of an ex-Muslim who became a Christian explaining Islam and explaining why these people behave in the way that they do when they come to Europe.
With all due respect, I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Islam is not compatible with the Western civilization. Quran is not just a religious textbook, it's a social political framework. There are 56 Muslim countries. If you want to live under Sharia law, move to one of those countries. Why the fuck would you move to the West? To a Western country like the United States that you keep saying, Al-Mughal America. Arabic that means dead to the United States. Why would you come here? Go live in Afghanistan. Go live in Iran if you like Shia governments.
And if you're wondering why they don't go to Islamic countries, why they come to the West instead of going to Islamic countries, they told us why. It's because their long-term plan is to come over to the West and over time turn the West into an Islamic state and place the entire world under Sharia, which is Islamic law. That's what they have said themselves. That is their goal.
And they're well on the way to getting their goals set.
Now, they won't achieve it, but that is the reason why.
You want to live
I think they will achieve it.
under a Sunni government? Move to Saudi Arabia. Would you?
The Catholics and Islam, what a team. Both worshiping statues of Mary.
Dude, you want to come here, use all the resources and be ungrateful. Shame on you. And I'm not saying all Muslims are bad, but...
Oh, Phil, I forgot to look. Hang on, mate.
You are a good human being. You are not a good Muslim. If you're a good Muslim, it's based on Quran, though. Don't get it wrong. I'm a Hafiz, and I was in Iran because I was born there. They forced us to study Quran. So now I'm very knowledgeable about it. I can cite surahs for you. Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 33. What does it say?
Oh, man.
All the kafirs, all the kuffar. Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah 2, verse 191. What does it say? kill people that don't think like you. Prosecute them. People who are preaching anti-Islamic things in the land. Surah Al-Nisa, verse 24. It's the verse. It says, when you take over, you can take their wives, even if they are previously married. It's okay. They're yours. They're your slaves. Same surah, which is like Surah Al-Nisa, verse 34. It says, you can hit your wives. Wives. Because they believe you can have multiple wives. So it's not compatible with the Western civilization. I hope you understand it. Save your communities. And if you want to live under Sharia law, there are 56 Muslim countries. Get the fuck out and move to one of those countries. Thank you.
I mean, it's always interesting when somebody who grew up in an Islamic state speaks out against Islam and explains the actual facts about why Islam is not compatible with the West, because the leftists really can't use the typical arguments against them. They can't say they're a bigot or they're a fascist because they was literally born in an Islamic state.
Guys, check this out. This is what Phil's got his grandkids for Christmas. I'm not sure how many grandkids. You got 3, haven't you, Phil? But check that out, guys. Thor. We're both just saying we love Thor. And look, he's got 1, 2 Thors. And a mighty Thor. I never heard of him before. That's so cool, Phil. Yeah, how'd that go now?
They experienced it firsthand, and now they are exposing it. So that is why they try to silence these people very frequently. They don't like these type of people speaking out. They don't like these type of people being platformed. You know, like Mossab Youssef, they really don't like when he speaks out because his voice cuts through all of their lies. Anyway, even though New York went through something pretty insane recently, electing the first Muslim mayor of New York, people still have had enough in New York, and they're continually speaking out. Take a look at this.
Yeah, baby, the Muslims call it, the ones who kill on behalf of Allah, they're called martyrs. We got martyrs too, but it's a different sect, different religion.
This is America, all right? This is America. If you hate this country, get the fuck out. All right, get the fuck out. What, you want me to be nice about it? I ain't gonna be nice about it. They're not nice about it.
Phil, when I was a kid, I had Batman and Robin, Captain America, and I can't remember the other one, little action figures. I used to love playing with my action figures.
24 years ago, they took the World Trade Center down, all right? They were jumping for joy in Palestine. They were giving out candy. They were happy about it. And now they're parading our city with fucking Palestinian flag. Fuck Palestine. That's what I say. Fuck Palestine. All right? Puerto Ricans from the Bronx. That's what we say. Fuck Palestine.
Now, if you haven't...
Good on you, champ. What happened there? What's happened?
Mistakes happen.
Oh, it's
Losing your sight shouldn't be one of them. SiteGround has you covered with daily backups that are geographically distributed, along with easy, one-click restore. Good, better, SiteGround.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a musician, and I want to turn my garage into a studio.
At Hammond Care, we've been caring for people for more than 90 years. So if you need...
You haven't seen the clip that he's talking about? I'll show you now. Take a look at this, posted by On London. On September, this date, right? Thousands of Palestinians, including children, took to the streets to celebrate this.
Bobo, say that I had Evel Knievel. He was on a motorbike and you'd wind it up, wouldn't you? And what was the other one? And I had the $6 million man. You'd look through his eye and his eye had a little telescope in it. And there's also one called Big Jim. And if you bend his arms, muscles would pop up on him.
Event. That is absolutely insane. And here's the clip.
What in the hell are kids doing here? This is child abuse. Yeah, Bobo, Stretch Armstrong. That come out when I was a little bit too old for little toys like that.
You get the point, right? Look at how insane this is. Look at how sick this culture is, this mentality is. And now, years later, we have people in London, in Europe, in America, all over the world, literally waving these flags around. And the narrative that has been painted around this country is false. It's confusion, it's deception. They believe in an ideology that is actually antichrist, that is against truth,
100%.
that is against freedom, that is against peace, love, joy, wisdom. And the ideology I'm talking about is Islamism. That is their ideology, Islamism. And it has no place in the West. And you know, this is personally why I believe these type of situations are happening. Now,
Geez, I like this guy. He's so well spoken and he's articulate.
when we head over to the official EU Commission website, right? This is the official EU Commission website. What do we find? Since the year 2000, the EU has provided more than 1.25 billion in humanitarian assistance to help meet the basic needs of the Palestinian population. The same people who were seen celebrating on the streets just then, right? Those people. Remember, these are the same people who tried to fine X for 120 million, the platform that allows freedom of speech. Is it making sense now? When you start critically thinking, objectively analyzing facts, looking where is the money flowing, who is trying to silence who, or financially drain who, and who is giving who a lot of money, then dots start to connect and things start to make a lot more sense. Now, I have a lot more to show you in this video, but later on this week, probably on Friday, I'm going to post an entire video dedicated to this one document that I came across that will literally blow your mind. An authentic document that explains pretty much what we're witnessing right now happen across the entire world. Anyway, over here in the UK, Layla Cunningham absolutely ripped this Labour MP to shreds, is what Basil the Great said. He is speechless. He's never had the crimes of his government read back to him before like this. Well done, Layla. And I think she does a great job here. Take a listen to this.
I'll tell you what's a dictatorship, and I'll tell you what's an authoritarian regime. It's cancelling elections. It's cancelling jury trials. It's imposing a digital ID system with no political mandates. And it's also curbing online dissent that you don't approve of. That's how authoritarian regimes operate, and you're doing all of that without a political mandate. It was not in your manifesto. We're not the ones cancelling elections. We're not the ones that want to surveil the whole country. We're not the ones that want to subject everyone to a digital ID without a political mandate. That's how dictators operate. It's not us, it's you.
Brilliantly said, right? It's not us, it's you. It's them. It's the Labour Party. It's the left. It's these insane people who literally have an Islamist ideological view of the world. They want the entire world subjugated, controlled. They want to take away people's freedoms, and it is being done through the left, actually. Right now, the left, the weak political left, have opened up the floodgates for a kind of evil that they don't even comprehend. And Rupert Lowe had this to say: removing every single illegal migrant from Britain is now an urgent priority. Not only these types of illegal migrants or murderers or these type, but all of them. They are all criminals, right? And it says it in the name, right? Illegal migrant, illegal. Migrants are legal. Illegal migrants are illegal, which means they are criminals. Just in case any of these insane leftists can't comprehend that simple fact. It doesn't make you a bigot because you want to obey the laws of the land. Anyway, I say it in the most urgent priority. I don't really care how they insult me in Westminster because of it. Corbyn says he's disgusting. Polanski states he should be condemned. Farage calls him a nutter for backing mass deportations. Hope Not Hate labels him Britain's most extreme MP. Please read these next words very carefully. And then he says that. Basically, he doesn't care. He wants these illegal men from such vile and backwards cultures out of our country. And he's obviously talking about Islam. Islam is a backwards ideology in the sense that it contradicts the Western values, Christian morals. Outright contradicts it, and I'll show you that later on. but it's a fact. He says he wants them gone, meaning deported. He makes no apologies for stating that. He doesn't care about clever politics or the center ground. He cares about making our country safe again. That is all that matters. How many more will it take until our appalling government starts to understand? Women and girls are being thrown to the wolves because our feeble establishment doesn't have the courage to do what needs to be done. Obviously, the left is the current quote-unquote establishment. I want to live in a Britain where women don't fear being by criminals who had no right to be in our country to begin with. Enough. I have had enough. The British people have had enough. We need mass deportations. Millions must go. And Rupert Lowe, he is speaking for the majority here, the silent majority in the United Kingdom, whether people want to accept that or not. Meanwhile, in London, UK, Oxford Street is the busiest London shopping street. This is the busiest time of year during Christmas. Yet some shoppers are subjected to cars accelerating to insanely dangerous speeds whilst waving the Syrian flag. This is Sadiq Khan's London now. Yeah, we'll get to Sadiq Khan in a moment, but here's the clip. Now, why do you think these people are driving through London waving Islamic flags? Why do you think? This flag right here is literally an Islamic flag, okay? And for some reason, this is what's happening in London in 2025. And here are the Muslims themselves telling you their goal for the West, telling you what they want to do to countries with democracies.
I used to say that democracy is haram. Now I say participation in democracy is our. That's our. I'm going to fight not through the bullets but the ballots. He literally made that phrase in Arabic. That's going to be our going to the polls and making sure that we win.
What is your duty as a member of the Ummah now that you are also an American? It is our physical duty to fight the entire earth until we enter into the Ummah.
You see? So they're literally admitting that their goal is to dominate the entire world, to turn the whole world Islamic, to place the whole world under Sharia, Islamic law, which, by the way...
Yeah, Norton's a good actor, isn't he, Bobo?
Is pretty much the...
I still haven't seen the original Thorpe with him in it.
Opposite of the West.
Not Thorpe, Hulk, I meant.
Freedom to do what you want to do, even if it contradicts other people's religious views, right? Under Sharia, somebody who is apparently a Muslim cannot even leave Islam. And what they do is, when somebody is born, they say, oh, that person was born Muslim. So in other words, they're never allowed to...
Phil, I thought, how could they make a movie of Doctor Strange? How'd they pull this off? It'd be so complicated. But they did. They done it well.
To actually seek the truth, because they're bound by a deceptive false religion that has basically said to them, if you leave, well, you get the capital punishment according to Sharia. So yeah, it's just a very, very warped, backwards ideology that is trying to take over the entire West through the left, through the weak people who don't understand what their ideology actually is. And as I said, I was going to show you something about Sadiq Khan in a moment. And it's absolutely disgusting, disgraceful, and embarrassing. Look, Muslim mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, nearly crashes out the moment he realizes he has to sing Christ is Born, the Newborn King, during a Christmas carol event in London. You know, the same guy who always talks about multiculturalism, about being open to all different quote-unquote faiths. He doesn't want to sing a Christian song. Why? Because it contradicts his false religion, his false ideology of Islam. Take a look at this. It's absolutely embarrassing. And what makes it worse is he's the mayor of London. He's the mayor of a city in a Christian country, and he refuses to sing a Christian song about Christ. The truth about Christ, actually, because Islam have a false Christ. But take a look at this.
I didn't even know the words to it.
Honestly, what an absolute embarrassment. And the UK is a joke right now for allowing this type of person to be the mayor of London, the mayor in a Christian land, refusing to sing a Christian Christmas carol. What is going on? What is going on? It's unbelievable. And you know, in certain places, Easter's being cancelled and certain things being banned from children's school trips because it offends Muslims. Children are not allowed to eat certain foods on school trips, apparently, because it offends Muslims. But halal meat is pretty much forced on British society. What is going on? What is actually going on? Now, I literally had about 15 more video clips to show you, but I'll save them for the next video when I go through that document that I do plan on showing you, which will blow your mind. I'm not joking. It will literally blow your mind. It's an official document from an organization that should have the best interests of the people at heart. But when you read this, it's like, wait, what? Now it makes sense why the world is in the state that it's in. And I'll probably go through that next video and show you some more of these clips as well that I planned on showing you in this video. Anyways, if you're on the side of truth and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification.
Okay. Here's Alex Jones's warning. Yeah, that's the one.
They bragged about it.
This is a 13-minute video.
A palace coup, a slow coup, a soft coup, a coup d'etat, except nobody bothered to hide it. They recorded themselves. They bragged about it.
This is a 13-minute video that we come back, I'm going to play. And the way he lays it out, it's all 100% true. And everything, every 20 seconds, what he's saying, you can look it up, and it's a whole world of information. It explains how the whole thing operates.
I was just thinking I might get Community Strike playing him. I did line something else up. Hang on. Joe Rogan interviews. Okay, let's just watch it. This is Joe Rogan.
We have for how objects in space behave.
So I was taking pictures, and for me, I could not make up my mind. It looks odd. It looks very different.
Yeah, Vas, I'd like to watch that with you guys, but nah, can't risk it.
No matter how many times I take pictures at it, how we process it, it is looking odd. The mystery was, how did you get a point light from the 3A Atlas that I was never able to capture? And even Hubble, when it took the pictures before, that's not how the pictures were. It has a big blob of light and it has a tail that the previous picture.
No cometary gases when it should have them. X-rays coming from nowhere. And this cone-shaped structure that's never been documented on any comet or asteroid in the history of astronomy. Ray went through every scientific paper ever published about this object, cross-referenced the data.
No, I didn't know that, Phil. One thing I'll say that's not good about PlayStation 5s, there's no superhero games lined up because they've done all them in PlayStation 3. So apart from Wolverine that's coming up early next year, there's no Superman in sight. I love playing them games. Oh, they always do Spider-Man too.
And his conclusion is wild. This doesn't fit anything we know. And the craziest part, professional astronomy is just kind of ignoring the contradictions. Let me show you why that's a problem.
And very interesting results came from this asteroid. It contains the seeds of life. So it contains the RNA, DNA molecules. It contains the amino acids. So the stuff of life that can make the life. The moment I actually downloaded and I saw the picture, those pictures look very different than the picture that was published. So this is the picture NASA released. They took a picture a couple of days ago on December 4th, and it shows that point of light.
All right, so Ray isn't working for NASA. He's not at some university observatory with a massive telescope. He's an independent astrophotographer, basically a guy with really good equipment who spends his nights photographing space. And he's been tracking 3I Atlas for weeks now, taking image after image, running.
Phil, is Tony Stark, is he a real person? Is there really a Stark and they took his name and or whatever turned into Iron Man? Was there an original Stark that this is about, but his name wasn't Stark?
Different processing techniques, trying to figure out what he's looking at. And every time he processes these images, the same thing shows up. This object looks odd. Not, oh, that's interesting, odd, like fundamentally wrong odd. The shape stays strange no matter how he adjusts the data. It's not a processing artifact. It's not his equipment. It's the actual object.
So asteroids do carry these kind of life, seeds of life, and they can.
Oh, that would have been some miscasting, Bobo. I'll tell you one of the worst miscasting I've ever seen. Interview with a vampire, and they had the vampire as Lestat. That's who the story's about. And Tom Cruise was Lestat. And he pulled it off, but it was just too clean.
Can be instrumental in, I guess, going and landing on some planet, and maybe a planet can flourish life down the line. This is showing that core with a point of light, and also it shows that hexagon kind of look.
Now, here's what makes Ray.
See, Vars, I knew he must have been based on something, because that's what Marvel and DC do.
Different from most people.
I wonder who Bruce Wayne's based on.
People who observe something weird in space and post about it online. He did his homework. He pulled every scientific paper published about 3I Atlas, observations from the Very Large Telescope in Chile, data from Japan's space agency, spectroscopic analysis, X-ray detections, all of it. And he started comparing what professional observatories are reporting. And that's when he noticed the contradictions, big ones, the kind that should make scientists go, wait, hold on, something's not adding up here. But instead, each facility published their findings, filed their papers, and moved on. Nobody's connecting the dots. Nobody's saying, hey, these observations are incompatible with each other. So Ray did it himself. And what he found is that 3I Atlas doesn't behave like a comet. It doesn't behave like an asteroid. It's doing things that shouldn't be possible under our current understanding. And the structure he's photographing, there's no precedent for it, none. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory. This is documented evidence from multiple professional observatories showing contradictory data, and an independent observer pointing at it saying, explain this.
If truly the Comet 3 Atlas is a really an interstellar object, it might be carrying like an ancient relic, like billions of years old seeds of life, and it contains that, and it may be carrying that with it.
So let's back up and talk about what 3I Atlas actually is, because the interstellar part is huge. The designation 3I means this is the third confirmed interstellar object ever detected passing through our solar system. The first was Oumuamua back in 2017, still controversial, still unexplained. The second was 2I Borisov in 2019, which was a comet and actually behaved like one, so everyone was relieved. Finally, something that made sense. 3I Atlas was discovered on April 8th, 2025. Its trajectory confirmed. It came from outside our solar system, meaning it formed around a complete...
And guys, in the Avengers movie, The Age of Ultron, the villain is an AI robot, and it's got its own intelligence.
Different star, could be hundreds of light years away, could be billions of years old. It traveled through interstellar space, happened to pass close enough to our sun that we could see it, and now it's leaving. We get one shot at studying it.
If it has the cometary signature, they should be able to conclude that, yes, in fact, it is carrying the seeds of life or the cometary gases on them.
Now, classifying these objects should be straightforward. You've got comets and you've got asteroids. Comets are basically dirty snowballs, ice, dust, frozen gases. When they get close to the sun, the ice heats up, turns to gas, and you get that classic tail. Asteroids are rock and metal. They're inert. They don't change when they get near the sun because there's no ice to melt. Simple, right? Except 3I Atlas is doing both and neither at the same time. Before it got close to the sun, it looked like it might be a comet, had this fuzzy appearance, kind of a coma around it. But when scientists analyzed its light spectrum, there were no cometary gases, none. So they said, okay, maybe it's an asteroid with some dust. But then it passed the sun and suddenly started shooting out jets like an active comet. You can't be both. That's not how this works. Either you've got ice that sublimates near the sun or you don't. Either you're a comet or you're an asteroid. This thing is refusing to pick a side. And that's just the beginning of how weird this gets.
Hubble took the pictures that we normally get, which is a little bit bigger cone in the front. Whereas this one, I'll zoom in for you, it becomes like slightly smaller, right? It just becomes like a small point of light.
Let's talk about what the Very Large Telescope found, because this is where the whole thing starts to fall apart. The VLT is in Chile. It's one of the most powerful telescope arrays on Earth. and they pointed it at 3I Atlas before it reached perihelion. That's the closest point to the sun. And they were looking for two specific molecules, hydroxyl, which is OH, and cyanogen, which is CN. These two gases are the smoking gun for comets. They're always there. When you heat up comet ice, you get water vapor, and water vapor breaks down into hydroxyl in sunlight. You get other ices like ammonia and methane breaking down into cyanogen. This is comets one. If you see OH and CN, you're looking at a comet. If you don't see them, it's not a comet. VLT looked at 3I Atlas. No hydroxyl, no cyanogen, zero. That should have been the end of the discussion. No cometary gases means it's not a comet, it's an asteroid. Case closed. Write the paper, classify it, move on, except the object had a coma. It had this fuzzy cloud around the nucleus. It had what looked like a tail. Visually, it looked exactly like a comet, but spectroscopy, which doesn't lie, said there were no cometary gases.
The interesting part that we found by doing that research and the conclusion that we found in the color spectrum, it does not show any signatures of any cometary signatures of the OH, the hydroxyl, and the CN, the cyanogen. These are the two always there on any comet.
So the scientists came up with this term silent comet, a comet that's not outgassing, not producing the normal gases, just sitting there inert. Okay, fine, that's weird, but maybe possible. Maybe the ice composition is different. Maybe it's too cold. Maybe it's covered in a dust layer that's preventing sublimation. But here's the thing about silent comets. They stay silent. They don't suddenly wake up, because if the gases aren't there, heating the object doesn't create them out of nothing. The sun doesn't manufacture new chemistry. It just heats what's already present. So if VLT detected no cometary gases before perihelion, there shouldn't be any cometary activity after perihelion. The object should stay inert. It should stay silent. That's not what happened.
It did show some jets flying after the perihelion. When the comet came close, it got really bright, and we started looking at it again to see what does that mean, right? Is it now producing any cometary gases?
3I Atlas passed its closest approach to the sun, and then something impossible happened. It got brighter, significantly brighter, and it started producing jets, actual visible jets of material shooting out from the nucleus. Classic comet behavior, active outgassing. Wait, hold on. VLT said there were no cometary gases. So where did this activity come from? This is like saying you scanned a gas tank, found it completely empty, then the car starts running. That doesn't happen. You can't activate what isn't there. But 3I Atlas did exactly that. Before perihelion, silent, no gases, looks like an asteroid. After perihelion, active jets, outgassing, behaving like a classic comet. The scientific term for this is incompatible observations. That's the polite way of saying these two things can't both be true. Either VLT was wrong and that telescope doesn't make mistakes like this, or something else is going on. Maybe the composition is so unusual that it doesn't produce OH and CN, but produces other gases we weren't looking for. Maybe the ice is buried deep under a crust and the heating from perihelion cracked that crust and released material. Maybe the object has pockets of volatile material that only activate under very specific conditions. Or maybe, and this is where it gets uncomfortable, we're looking at chemistry that formed in a completely different stellar environment with different rules, and our models just don't apply because this thing didn't form in our solar system. It came from somewhere else.
Can I die?
Different star, different formation conditions, different radiation environment, different elemental composition. What if comet behavior in other stellar systems is fundamentally different from what we see here? That would mean every assumption we make about comets based entirely on objects that formed around our sun doesn't work for interstellar visitors. And if that's true, we have no idea what we're actually looking at.
Means it is, at least the signature of X-rays are coming out of this comet. That's very interesting.
Now let's add another layer of impossibility to this, because Japan Space Agency detected something that shouldn't exist. JAXA has a satellite called CHARMISM, and they were observing 3I Atlas in X-rays, and they detected emissions, specific emission lines C6, N6, and O7. Those are carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen that have been stripped of multiple electrons, highly ionized. X-rays from comets aren't new. We've known about them since the mechanism is well understood. Comets have a coma, this cloud of gas surrounding the nucleus. When solar wind hits that coma, you get charge exchange. The solar wind is full of highly charged ions, and when they encounter neutral atoms in the coma, they grab electrons. That electron capture releases energy in the form of X-rays. It's
come on,
repeatable, it's
man.
documented, it's textbook physics. But here's the critical part. You need gas in the coma for this to work. Specifically, you need molecules like water, hydroxyl, carbon dioxide, the stuff that makes up cometary outgassing. JAXA detected X-rays. That means there's gas in the coma. That means 3I Atlas has active cometary composition. But VLT said there's no cometary gas. None. Zero hydroxyl, zero cyanogen. Both of these observations can't be correct. Either JAXA's X-ray detection is wrong or VLT spectroscopy is wrong, and neither facility makes these kinds of mistakes. These are world-class instruments operated by top scientists. Their data is peer-reviewed and published. So what's happening? 3 possibilities. 1, VLT missed something. Maybe the cometary gases were there, but in concentrations too low to detect in visible light spectroscopy, but sufficient for X-ray production. That's reaching, but possible. 2, JAXA's X-rays are coming from a different mechanism, not charge exchange with cometary gases, but something else entirely. Some unknown process producing X-rays. That would be new physics, which is exciting, but also means we have no framework for understanding it. 3, the object's composition is so alien formed under such different conditions that it produces X-rays through pathways we've never seen before. Chemistry that doesn't exist in our solar system. None of these options are comfortable. All of them suggest we're looking at something that doesn't fit our models. All right, now we get to the thing that Ray keeps emphasizing, because this is the most visually undeniable piece of evidence that something's wrong. In his images, multiple sessions, different nights, different processing techniques, there's this structure trailing behind 3I Atlas. It's cone-shaped, kind of like a tornado or a funnel, and it's consistent. It shows up every time. Now, comets have tails. We know what comet tails look like. You've got the dust tail, which is this broad curved structure made of small particles that get pushed away from the sun by radiation pressure. And you've got the ion tail, which is narrow and straight, made of ionized gas that gets swept away by the solar wind's magnetic field. We've been observing comets for over 200 years. We've got thousands of images, detailed studies, models of tail formation. We know.
Phil, I had a G.I. Joe as well. They're a little bit bigger than a normal, like, action figure. They were a bit bigger. So was your, I forget what it's called. You had another one that was similar.
Know this inside and out. A cone structure, that's not in the catalog. That's not documented anywhere. Ray's first thought was, okay, maybe it's a processing artifact. Maybe I'm seeing noise in the data. So he reprocessed the images differently, used different software, adjusted different parameters. Same structure appeared every time. Then he checked other nights, different atmospheric conditions, different scene quality, same structure. This isn't an artifact. This isn't a mistake. This is a real feature on the object. So what could cause it? Let's think through the possibilities. Maybe it's a rotational effect. The object is spinning and gas is jetting out from a specific location on the surface. The rotation creates this spiral pattern that when viewed from our angle looks like a cone. That's possible, but you'd need very specific rotation rates, very specific jet locations, and even then, the geometry doesn't quite work out. Maybe it's a magnetic field interaction. The object has some kind of intrinsic magnetic field, and that field is channeling the outflowing gas into this cone shape. But comets don't have strong magnetic fields. They're not massive enough. Asteroids definitely don't. This would require the object to have magnetic properties we've never seen in a small solar system body. Maybe it's some unknown outgassing pattern, some geometry of surface features creating a collimated flow. But even collimated jets don't create cone shapes. They create narrow, straight jets. The frustrating part is that this structure is visible in amateur astrophotography. Ray's not using Hubble. He's using equipment that dedicated amateurs can access, which means professional observatories with way more powerful instruments should be seeing this in even greater detail. So where are the papers about it? Where's the analysis? Where's the modeling trying to explain this unprecedented morphology? The silence is deafening. Let me take a step back and talk about why the interstellar part of this matters so much, because there's this other mission that just happened that changes the context of everything. NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission. They sent a spacecraft to an asteroid called Bennu, collected samples from its surface, and brought them back to Earth in September 20. And when scientists analyzed those samples, they found something incredible. RNA precursors, DNA precursors, amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, the chemical foundations for life on an asteroid. Bennu formed in our solar system 4.6 billion years ago from the same protoplanetary disk that made Earth and everything else here, and it's carrying organic molecules, the seeds of life. Now think about 3I Atlas. It didn't form here. It formed around a completely different star. Different stellar chemistry, different radiation environment, different elemental abundances. It could be billions of years older than our solar system. It witnessed stellar epochs we can only theorize about. If our asteroids carry life precursors, what might an interstellar object carry? Chemistry that never existed in our solar system, organic molecules formed under completely different conditions. There's this hypothesis called panspermia, the idea that life doesn't originate on a single planet but spreads between star systems via objects like comets and asteroids. An interstellar comet passes through a stellar system, delivers organic compounds.
Do you know the original Batman and Robin comic book? They were doing a sort of Epstein thing, if you know what I mean.
Maybe even microbes encased in ice, and seeds that system with the potential for life. We don't know if 3I Atlas is carrying organics. We didn't do a sample return mission. We barely studied it before it started leaving.
Like, I remember when someone pointed it out on YouTube, and I looked at the photo of the comic book we're talking about, and it was Bruce Wayne, Rowan Burt Ward on a lake at the night, and the moonlight was coming through. Why would you be there with a young man in the night time on a rowboat? Because they were involved in the sort of Epstein stuff.
But the possibility is there. This thing could be carrying chemistry from a star system hundreds of light years away, building blocks of life from an alien stellar environment, and we're letting it leave without comprehensive analysis. Think about what that means. We've spent billions of dollars sending spacecraft to Mars, looking for signs of ancient microbial life. We're planning missions to Europa and Enceladus to search for life in subsurface oceans. We're building telescopes to analyze the atmospheres of exoplanets, looking for biosignatures. And an object from another star system, potentially carrying alien chemistry, possibly organic compounds billions of years old, passes through our neighborhood, and we barely look at it. The opportunity cost here is staggering. All right, let me lay out Ray's full argument here, because when you see all four contradictions together, the scope of the problem becomes clear. Contradiction number one, the gas problem. VLT detected no cometary gases before perihelion. Hydroxyl and cyanogen, the two molecules that define comets, were absent. That means by standard classification, this should be an asteroid, but it had a coma and tail-like features. Visual appearance says comet, spectroscopy says asteroid. Can't be both. Contradiction number two, the activation problem. Silent before perihelion, suddenly producing jets and outgassing after perihelion. That's not how silent comets work. Silent comets stay silent. You can't activate gases that aren't there. Heat doesn't create new molecules. So where did the activity come from? Contradiction number three, the X-ray problem. JAXA detected X-rays that require cometary gases for their production through charge exchange. But VLT said there are no cometary gases. You can't produce X-rays via charge exchange if there's nothing to exchange charge with. The mechanism requires a coma of neutral atoms. Either the X-rays shouldn't exist or the gases do exist and weren't detected. Both observations can't be true. Contradiction number four, the morphology problem. This cone structure that Ray photographed, it's unprecedented, not documented for
It's like the shape of a bullet, the front of it.
any comet or asteroid in history. Shows up consistently across multiple observation sessions, so it's not an artifact. No scientific explanation exists for why this shape would form. Four separate contradictions, four different types of observations. Spectroscopy, activity monitoring, X-ray detection, visible imaging, all producing data that doesn't fit together. Standard classification fails. Comet or asteroid, neither label works. Both labels partially work. The object is refusing to fit our categories. And here's Ray's position, which I think is the only honest scientific stance you can take. We don't know what this is. Not it's definitely aliens. Not it's a comet with weird composition. Not it's an asteroid with ice pockets. Just we don't know. The data is contradictory. Our models don't explain it. And claiming certainty when you don't have it isn't science, it's ego. Here's what bothers me about this whole situation. Ray noticed these contradictions by reading the published papers and cross-referencing them. He's not doing anything sophisticated here. He's just putting the data side by side and saying, these don't match. So why aren't professional astronomers doing this? Well, they are. They're just not talking about it. Each observatory publishes its findings. VLT publishes spectroscopy data. JAXA publishes X-ray observations. Ground-based telescopes publish photometry and astrometry. Each paper focuses on what that specific instrument detected. And each paper gets peer-reviewed, accepted, published in a journal. But nobody's synthesizing the contradictions. There's no follow-up paper saying, wait, VLT's spectroscopy and JAXA's X-rays are incompatible. We need to resolve this. There's no coordinated observing campaign to get multi-wavelength data simultaneously to figure out what's happening. Why? Because that's not how the system works. Telescope time is insanely precious. You write a proposal months in advance. You justify why your specific research question deserves those hours. You get allocated time if your proposal is selected. Then you observe, analyze, write a paper, submit it, wait for peer review, get it published. That process takes 6 months to a year. By the time your paper is published, the object you were studying is long gone, and funding is tied to specific research questions. You can't just say, we don't know what this is, let's point everything at it. You need a hypothesis, a methodology, expected outcomes. The unknown doesn't fit into grant proposals very well. So what happens is that anomalies get footnoted, contradictions get mentioned briefly and then set aside. Each team publishes what they found and moves on to the next project. He's not applying for telescope time. He's not writing.
I like the X-Men comics vast, especially the series on Apocalypse. They made a movie of it, and they're pretty close to the story.
Grant proposals. He's not worried about career implications of controversial conclusions. He can look at the data, see that it doesn't make sense, and say, this doesn't make sense. That's valuable. That's how science should work. And there's historical precedent here. Amateur astronomers discover comets all the time. Backyard observers have spotted supernovae before professional surveys. Galileo wasn't part of an academic institution when he turned his telescope to the sky. William Herschel was an amateur when he discovered Uranus. Sometimes the best science comes from outside the system because outsiders aren't constrained by the system's block.
That's a gaseous planet, isn't it? Uranus.
And spots. So let's speculate, if 3I Atlas isn't fitting the comet asteroid categories, what could it actually be? Possibility one, it's an interstellar comet with composition so different from solar system comets that our detection methods don't work. Maybe it has water ice, but also exotic ices we weren't looking for. Maybe it produces gases that don't include hydroxyl or cyanogen. Maybe the volatiles are buried under a thick crust that only cracked open at perihelion. That would explain the delayed activation, but it doesn't explain the X-rays. If there are no standard cometary gases, what's producing the charge exchange?
Look at the earthquakes and floods that are going on now. That's going to be caused from this Atlas thing, because the whole planet is under assault. Rain, floods, fires, earthquakes, volcanoes, like 400 earthquakes today. That's just crazy.
Possibility two, hybrid object. Rocky core like an asteroid, but with pockets or layers of volatile ices. Most of it is inert, but specific regions have frozen gases that sublimate under the right conditions. That could explain why it looks partly like an asteroid and partly like a comet. But again, the X-ray problem remains, and the cone structure still has no explanation. Possibility three, it's debris from a planetary collision in another star system. Imagine a planet or large moon getting destroyed, maybe from an impact, maybe from tidal forces getting too close to its star. The debris contains both rocky material and ices, all mixed together in weird ratios. That fragment gets ejected from its system, travels through interstellar space for millions of years, and ends up here. That would explain the unusual composition, but it's speculative. We have no way to confirm it. Possibility four, it's something entirely new, a class of interstellar object we haven't identified yet because we've only seen 3 of them. Maybe objects that form in the interstellar medium itself, not around stars. Maybe objects from stellar systems with very different metallicity than ours, producing chemistry we've never encountered. Maybe the rules for what comet and asteroid mean only apply to objects that formed in our solar system, and extrapolating those categories to interstellar visitors is fundamentally wrong. That last one is uncomfortable because it means our models have a major blind spot, but the data might be telling us exactly that. Of all the contradictions, I keep coming back to that cone structure because it's the most visually undeniable. Gas detections, you can argue about sensitivity thresholds, detection limits, whether something was at the noise floor. X-rays, you can debate mechanisms, suggest alternative explanations. Activation timing, maybe there's some delayed sublimation process we don't fully understand, but a physical structure that's visible in photographs, that's harder to explain away. Ray imaged it multiple times, it's consistent, it's real, and there's no documentation of anything like it in the history of comet observations. Comet tails are well understood. We've got detailed models of dust dynamics and ion plasma behavior. We can predict tail shapes based on particle size distributions and solar wind conditions. The physics is solid. This cone doesn't fit those models at all. And the fact that it's showing up in amateur astrophotography means it's a large-scale feature. This isn't some subtle spectral line that requires sensitive instruments. This is a prominent morphological characteristic that any decent telescope should be documenting. So where are the professional images? Where's the high-resolution follow-up? Where's the detailed analysis trying to explain this geometry? The closest thing I can think of is when you have jets coming from specific active regions on a comet's surface, and the rotation of the
Good
comet
night,
makes
Phil.
those
God
jets
bless,
smooth
mate.
out patterns. But even those don't create cone shapes; they create spirals
I'm out soon too, guys.
or arcs. This is something else. And until someone models it and shows here's how standard comet physics produces this shape, we're looking at an unexplained phenomenon. Let's talk about what interstellar actually means for the chemistry involved, because this is where it gets really interesting. Our sun is what astronomers call a population I star. That means it formed relatively recently, about 4.6 billion years ago, from a cloud of gas and dust that was already enriched with heavy elements. Those elements came from previous generations of stars that lived, died, and exploded as supernovae, scattering their processed material into space. When the solar system formed, everything planets, asteroids, comets came from that same protoplanetary disk, same starting material, same chemical inventory. That's why we can study comets and asteroids and understand their composition. They're all siblings formed from the same parent cloud. 3I Atlas didn't form from our parent cloud, it formed somewhere else. Maybe from a population 2 star, which would be metal poor, formed from more pristine hydrogen and helium. Maybe from a stellar system with completely different elemental abundances, more carbon, less oxygen, different nitrogen ratios. The chemistry could be fundamentally different. The ice composition, the rock types, the organic molecules, all potentially alien to what we see in our solar system. And if the chemistry is different, then the behavior is different. The way it interacts with sunlight, the gases it produces when heated, the particles it ejects, all of that could follow rules we haven't observed before. That would explain why VLT didn't detect hydroxyl or cyanogen. Maybe 3I Atlas doesn't have water ice in significant amounts. Maybe it's volatiles or methane dominated or ammonia dominated or some exotic ice we've never encountered. Heat that up and you don't get OH and CN, you get something else entirely. But then what's producing the X-rays? What are the charge exchange partners, if not water and carbon dioxide? The answer might be molecules we weren't looking for, chemistry that didn't exist in our solar system's formation, so we never thought to search for it. We're trying to understand an alien object using only the vocabulary developed from local objects. That might not work. Here's the frustrating part. We've been through this before. Oumuamua in 2017, discovered in October, passed through the solar system, and by the time the astronomy community realized how weird it was already leaving. We got maybe a few weeks of decent observations, and most of those happened after it was already past perihelion and heading out. We missed the critical window. Then it showed this bizarre acceleration with no visible outgassing. Avi Loeb from Harvard suggested it might be artificial. Everyone else said, no, there must be some natural explanation. But the natural explanations require assumptions that don't quite fit the data. And now Oumuamua is gone. We'll never get more data. The debate just continues with no way to resolve it. So you'd think with 3I Atlas, discovered in April 2025, we'd have learned. You'd think there'd be protocols in place, the rapid response network of observatories ready to coordinate when an interstellar object shows up. Multi-wavelength observations across the entire spectrum, spectroscopy and UV, visible, infrared, radio, X-ray monitoring, high-resolution imaging, a comprehensive campaign to grab every piece of data possible before it leaves. That's not what happened. Individual facilities made observations when they could get telescope time. Papers are being written and published on their normal timelines. And by the time those papers come out, the object is fainter, more distant, harder to study. 3I Atlas is leaving right now. Every day it gets further from the sun, it gets dimmer. The window for detailed observations is closing, and we're still operating on this slow, proposal-driven, publish-or-perish timeline that isn't built for transient, one-time only opportunities. We should have had a space mission, not a full sample return that's probably not feasible on short notice, but a flyby, a small, fast spacecraft with cameras and spectrometers that could intercept 3I Atlas, get close-up data, and answer some of these questions definitively. We have the technology. We've done fast missions before. New Horizons flew past Pluto. We could do this, but it requires funding, approval, and a launch window. By the time all of that gets arranged, the object is out of reach. So we're left with what we have, incomplete data, contradictory observations, and an object that's leaving before we understand it. 3 interstellar objects confirmed so far. Let's look at the pattern. Oumuamua, first one, 2017, completely unexpected, weird shape, either cigar-like or
Yeah, Bobo, this is my 4th channel. They shut my first 3 down because of my Christian content. I'd play stuff from YouTube that I got off YouTube, and they'd give me a copyright strike, or not a copyright, they'd give me a community strike for it. And I could never really work out why did I get it, but I got it off your YouTube. But I had to get a new IP address, a new modem, and that's how I got the 4th channel going. I've been very careful on this one.
pancake-like, depending on which analysis you trust, accelerated with no visible comet activity, tumbling rotation, no clear explanation. Avilob says maybe artificial, mainstream says natural, but we're not sure how. Controversy unresolved, Tuai Borisov, second one, 29th. Everyone was nervous after Oumuamua. Would this...
Yeah, Bobo, if you come out with the truth or good Christian stuff, they do hound you. They hassle you. They really do. I'm not allowed to leave my link of Oz anywhere in YouTube. I can leave it on Facebook and Messenger, but I can't use it on YouTube because if I put the link there, they're going to take the channel down, they said.
Be weird too. Turned out it was just a comet, normal spectroscopy, normal behavior, carbon monoxide detected like you'd expect. It fit all our models, collective sigh of relief. Okay, that one makes sense. 3-Eye Atlas, third one, 20, and we're back to weird, contradictory gas detections, impossible x-rays, unprecedented structure, doesn't fit comet or asteroid models. So out of 3 interstellar objects, 2 are anomalous. That's a 66% anomaly rate. Now, is that the actual ratio? Are 2/3 of interstellar objects strange, or is this a selection bias where we only notice the weird ones? Statistical reality, we've probably missed hundreds or thousands of interstellar objects. Most pass through without us noticing. We only detect the ones that are bright enough and close enough and happen to be where we're looking. There's a massive selection bias in our sample. But even accounting for that, the question remains, are interstellar objects fundamentally different from solar system objects? Is our comet asteroid classification scheme based entirely on local objects and just doesn't apply to visitors from other systems? If true, then every time an interstellar object shows up, we should expect it to be confusing. We should expect our models to fail. We should expect properties that don't fit our categories. And we should stop being surprised when it happens. I want to emphasize what Ray actually did here because it's worth recognizing. He didn't just take some pictures and post, look how weird this is on social media. He documented observations across multiple sessions. He applied different processing techniques to verify that the features he was seeing were real. He went through the scientific literature, every paper published about 3-Eye Atlas, and cross-referenced the findings. That's solid methodology. That's how you do science. And then he presented his analysis with evidence, cited his sources, acknowledged where he was uncertain, and drew conclusions based on what the data actually showed. He didn't claim aliens. He didn't sensationalize. He said these observations don't.
So, Bas, what's your take on this atlas? I think it's not I think it's a mothership or something like that. What do you think? You think it's real or not?
Fit our models. Here's why, and we need to address this. Compare that to institutional astronomy, where each team publishes their narrow findings, cites what their instrument detected, and moves on. Nobody's doing the synthesis. Nobody's looking at the whole picture and saying, these pieces don't fit together. Ray did that. Without funding, without institutional backing, without needing to justify his time to a grant committee, he just looked at the evidence and followed where it led. That's valuable. That's the scientific method working the way it's supposed to work. And it highlights how citizen science, people with access to decent equipment and the curiosity to use it, can contribute to real discovery, especially in cases where institutional constraints prevent professional astronomers from pursuing certain questions. Let me dig deeper into those x-rays because this contradiction is particularly sharp. When JAXA had detected x-rays from 3-Eye Atlas, they identified...
Last, I agree. I think we are in for the Chronicles of Riddick. I really do think that. They're going to show up and make us worship them, or they'll kill us.
Specific emission lines, C6, N6, and O7. Those numbers indicate ionization states. C6 means carbon that...
And the things flying around that they call them drones, but we know what they are.
It's lost 6 electrons. N6 is nitrogen that's lost 6. O7 is oxygen that's lost 7. Those are highly ionized species. You don't get that kind of ionization in the coma of a comet naturally. What happens is solar wind ions, which are already highly charged, collide with neutral atoms in the coma. The solar wind ion captures an electron from the neutral atom in a process called charge exchange. That electron drops into a lower energy state, releasing a photon in the X-ray range. This mechanism was discovered in 1996 when Rosat observed Comet Hyakutake K and detected X-rays. It was unexpected at first, but the physics was worked out quickly and now it's standard. We've observed X-rays from many comets since then, but the mechanism requires neutral atoms or molecules in the coma. Water vapor, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, anything with loosely bound electrons that solar wind ions can grab. VLT spectroscopy detected none of these gases. So what's the solar wind exchanging charge with? Either the gases were there in amounts too small for VLT to detect but sufficient for X-ray production, which seems unlikely given VLT's sensitivity, or there's a different X-ray production mechanism we don't know about. New physics isn't off the table, but it's uncomfortable. It means our understanding of charge exchange, solar wind interactions, and cometary X-rays has gaps. Or it means 3I Atlas has gases we weren't looking for, molecules formed in a different stellar system with different chemistry. Either way, the X-rays are telling us something doesn't fit. So where are we now? 3I Atlas is leaving the inner solar system. It's getting fainter.
Bobo, I don't like getting drunk, not at all. I like to get tipsy and that, buzz you get off that, but I don't like being drunk because you can't control your mouth or yourself.
Every day as its distance from the sun increases. Amateur astronomers like Ray are still imaging it when conditions allow, but the window is closing fast. Professional observatories are probably still observing too, but there's a lag between observation and publication. Papers take months to write and review. By the time more findings come out, the object might be too faint for follow-up. What should be happening? Coordinated observing campaign, multiple telescopes across different wavelengths, all observing simultaneously, get spectroscopy, X-ray data, high-res imaging, all at the same time so we can see how these different observations correlate. Synthesize the data, stop treating each observation as a separate paper, and start treating the object as a comprehensive puzzle to solve, and maybe, just maybe, launch a mission. It's probably too late for this one. But for the next interstellar object that shows up, and there will be a next one, we need rapid response capability, a spacecraft on standby, ready to launch on short notice, capable of intercepting and getting close-up data. That's the only way we're going to resolve these contradictions. Remote observations from Earth can only tell us so much. Getting close, sampling the coma.
Hello, Darren. I don't know, but I think this is a spaceship.
Directly, measuring composition in situ. That's how you answer these questions. But that requires institutional will, funding, and a shift in how we approach these objects. We need to treat interstellar visitors as top priority science targets, not curiosities that fit into normal observing schedules. Ray's final position is simple. We don't know what this is. And that's the most honest thing you can say. It's not a comet by the standard definition because it lacks the defining gases. It's not an asteroid because it shows activity. It's not fitting our models, our classifications, our predictions. Saying we don't know isn't a weakness. It's intellectual honesty. It's recognizing when observations don't match theory and admitting that our understanding is incomplete. Too often in science, there's pressure to provide answers. Grant proposals need hypotheses. Papers need conclusions. Press releases need headlines. We don't know doesn't fit that framework well, but we don't know is where discovery happens. When models fail, we learn. When classifications break down, we refine our categories. When observations contradict theory, we improve our theory. 3I Atlas is teaching us something. We just don't know what yet. What we do know, it came from...
I'm just guessing, Darren, but I'd say our outer atmosphere. If this is a real spaceship, they won't, I don't know what they'll do. I don't know how they'll show up, but if they're going to show up, now's the time to do it. The times are right.
From outside our solar system. Its trajectory confirms that. It showed contradictory properties across multiple types of observations. Professional facilities documented these contradictions, and it has morphology that's unprecedented.
And vast, it's got some sort of light pulse. I don't know the time, but it goes off precisely every 2.3 hours. That's not the time, but I'm just using that as an example. So there's a rhythm of a light that lights up in there that they know about. this is not a comet. It's got to be a spaceship. There's nothing else it could be.
Unprecedented. What we don't know, what it's actually made of, why it behaved the way it did, what produced the X-rays, what created that cone structure, whether it's carrying organics, whether it represents a new class of object, basically everything that matters. But that's okay. That's what makes it interesting. That's what drives research. The problem isn't admitting we don't know. The problem is when institutions pretend contradictions don't exist, file them away, and move on without resolution. Step back for a second and think about what this means. Interstellar objects pass through regularly. We just don't see most of them. They're faint.
Vash, you must be an AK fighter to work as a bouncer.
They're fast. They're hard to detect unless they come close or get bright. Current estimates suggest several interstellar objects pass through the inner solar system every year. We've confirmed 3 in the last 8 years. That means we're missing most of them. Our solar system isn't isolated. We're flying through the galaxy, and the galaxy is full of stuff. Material gets ejected from star systems through gravitational interactions, planetary collisions, close stellar encounters. That material drifts through interstellar space for millions of years, occasionally passing through other systems. We're looking at galactic scale exchange of material, chemistry mixing across light years, the potential for panspermia, life or its precursors spreading between star systems becomes.
And you think about it, how in the hell have they advanced to the stage of knowing the percentage of nickel in this spaceship? How do they know that? They've developed stuff that can do that. That's amazing when you think of it. I'm still going to stick on Atlas, guys.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz plug-in hybrid range featuring the GLC 350e 4MATIC SUV. With electric efficiency and a deposit contribution with Mercedes-Benz Financial, it's the best of all worlds.
Lunch. Sauce minutes ago. By Tom, your friendly fisherman, chef, and waiter.
Excuse me.
All the data that I collected. So I went.
Oh, we already played him. There must be something else. Hang on. Hang on, guys. I'll look up something. And guys, I'm looking for something on Atlas. Already done him. I'll do this one, then hang up, guys.
Imagine standing at the edge of understanding only to have the universe pull the rug out from under you. Again, NASA has just issued another alert about Comet 3I Atlas. And I have to tell you, we're witnessing something that defies our expectations at every turn. Just when the observations begin to crystallize, just when the mathematics start to align, and we dare to say, yes, now we understand what's happening, the cosmos delivers another surprise. It's like watching a shapeshifter move through space, refusing to be defined by our equations. For those following this extraordinary journey, you already know this is no ordinary visitor. This comet doesn't simply obey the laws we've written for such objects. It evolved.
Yeah, Vass, but when you're young and you're full of spunk, you like to fight.
It transforms. It rewrites its narrative as it travels through our cosmic neighborhood. And what we're seeing today represents perhaps the most compelling evidence yet that we're observing something,
guys, I'm out after this one,
genuinely anomalous unfolding before our eyes. Before we go further, consider subscribing and turning on notifications if this fascinates you. Switch to full screen and immerse yourself in what comes next. Let me share with you what's actually transpiring here. This latest alert transcends mere brightness anomalies or intriguing visual features in our imagery. Those details captivate us, certainly. But what we're confronting now cuts to something far more fundamental. This time, the revelation emerged from the orbit itself. Think about what this means. Throughout the night, tracking stations distributed across our planet transmitted fresh, extraordinarily precise positional measurements. The same telescopes, the same observational protocols, the same data reduction algorithms they've always employed. Nothing in our methodology changed. Yet, when these new coordinates were integrated into our orbital calculation systems, something unexpected occurred. The residuals began behaving strangely. Now, residuals represent the tiny discrepancies between theoretical prediction and observed reality, where our mathematics tells us the comet should appear in the heavens versus where we actually find it. In an idealized universe with flawless calculations, these residuals would vanish to zero. But our universe isn't ideal, so small differences always exist. What matters is that these differences should remain random and minimal, scattered without pattern. That's not what happened. The residuals didn't merely increase slightly, they organized themselves, aligned in a coherent direction. This is profoundly significant because it reveals that something about the comet's fundamental motion has shifted. Consider this. With a typical asteroid or an extinct cometary nucleus, orbital prediction becomes remarkably precise using gravity alone. The sun's gravitational embrace, the subtle tugs from distant planets. Apply the mathematics, and you know precisely where to find it. But 3I Atlas refuses to be typical. It's alive in the astronomical sense, constantly exhaling jets of gas and dust from its surface into the void. And here's where Newton's elegant third law enters our story. When material erupts in one direction, the comet itself recoils in the opposite direction. We call this phenomenon a non-gravitational force, and it's rewriting the rules for this enigmatic traveler. Think of it as a cosmic engine, constantly firing, perpetually nudging the comet away from the purely gravitational trajectory our equations predict. Until yesterday, we believed we had decoded this non-gravitational acceleration. We understood its direction. We had measured its strength. Our orbital calculations incorporated these forces, and the universe appeared to make sense. But today, something extraordinary happened. To reconcile the new observations with reality, that push must now be oriented differently. The thrust vector from the comet's outgassing jets has rotated. Not dramatically, perhaps, but sufficiently that our algorithms cannot dismiss it. The mathematics simply refuses to converge unless we accept that the comet's activity has fundamentally transformed. That revelation alone would capture the attention of any scientist. When a comet spontaneously alters its self-propulsion vector, we take notice. But here's where the story becomes truly remarkable. While the orbital dynamics team wrestled with these numerical anomalies, the imaging team independently completed their analysis of an entirely separate observational data set. They had meticulously combined multiple exposures from different observatories, constructing extraordinarily high contrast images of the comet's inner regions. And because the cosmos has an elegant way of maintaining consistency, the visual evidence tells precisely the same story as the orbital mechanics. In last week's imagery, the inner coma and primary jet had appeared to stabilize into a predictable configuration. Any observer might have concluded, this is the current state. This is how the comet expresses itself. Today's images reveal a different reality. The inner coma, that luminous nebulous envelope surrounding the nucleus, has shifted its orientation. The brightest concentration of this glow has migrated. The primary jet, the most powerful stream of sublimating material, has tilted toward a new heading compared to its position just days ago. And the transformation extends beyond the dominant feature. The secondary structures, those delicate fans and subsidiary streams, have rebalanced themselves in response. The entire architecture has reorganized. Even in the distant background, the comet's tail now exhibits a subtle serpentine curve absent from earlier observations. It's as though the entire structure experienced a gentle torsion. Now consider what we have. Two completely independent analytical approaches converging on an identical conclusion. The orbital calculations declare that the net force vector acting upon the comet has rotated. The direct imaging confirms that the physical jets and material streams erupting from the nucleus have rotated in concert. This isn't coincidence. This isn't some artifact of data processing. This is genuine physical evolution occurring on this object as we observe it. This is what NASA means when they announced that 3I Atlas has shifted once more. The comet is actively reconfiguring its outgassing behavior, which modifies its self-propulsion, which alters its trajectory through space. All of this unfolds in the present moment while humanity watches. The question that naturally emerges is, why? What drives this restless transformation? To grasp the answer, we must first understand what a cometary nucleus truly is. It's not some monolithic stone hurtling through the void. It's something far more delicate and dynamic, a dirty snowball, if you will. Or perhaps more accurately, a fragile conglomeration of frozen debris, held together by the feeblest gravitational bonds imaginable. Its surface wears a dark armor, a crust of organic compounds transformed by cosmic radiation across epochs spanning millions.
Guys, there's a link to this guy. I'll see you next stream, guys. I'm out.
Perhaps billions of years. Yet beneath this protective shell lie reservoirs and strata of volatile ices, water ice, carbon monoxide ice, carbon dioxide ice, all locked together with dust and mineral fragments in a